You just gotta, suck it up and just just stick your face in it and just do it. That's how it works. Yeah. What's up, people? Franco Quaid in the house, baby. What's up? Been doing things today. We ain't got a lot done, but we did a little something. We need peanuts. We can't get them all. I don't know. Oh yeah, baby. Woo! It's been a heck of a day today already. Got out and cranked up the Tahoe and made some loud bass. Uh, been working on a song all blasted day, and it just ain't going the way I want it to go. Sometimes that's how it is. I do apologize for the cough. I'm a little bit congested this evening. So how's everybody doing? I see Franco Quaid's in the house. There'll be a few more show up at some point in time. Basically, we are discussing a few different things today. I got a few different topics on my head. Most of the time, I'm driven by questions that you guys may have. I try to give you as good of an answer as I can. It doesn't always work out because I don't speak on subjects that I don't know about. Let's see here. Anybody popping up? Oh, yeah. I got messages on the Facebook DM over here that I'm always watching for. A lot of times Bobby B will sneak in and poke at me while I'm on there. So I got to keep an eye out for him. I got out there in the Tahoe today and wrangled it a little bit. And I got 153.4 in the kick. It's my best score I've gotten in the Tahoe completely. And that was on music, actually. So I could probably use that just a little bit more on tone in the floor. But legit legal score on the glass in competition on a Midwest SPL meter, I got a 153.3. That's the highest score I've gotten. That's 100% legit. So I talked to you guys a little bit yesterday about the subwoofer line from Slapz Car Audio, and you guys seem to be interested in that yesterday. But we are also going to be talking about the amplifier line because there is there is some older amps in there that I haven't tested. But I'm going to tell you, man, the Shock 8Ks are bringing the pain, man. I got out there today and oh, my buddy just cracked me up, man. Oh, wait a minute. See, that's what happens when you got DMs on the side because you mess around and see something that's funny, and, and then you're screwed. They can't help but laugh. I got a friend that's in the middle of a Zoom call with somebody he doesn't want to be in a call on, and I told him to imagine the guy wearing lipstick, to kind of help his mood. He said he already is wearing it. See, that's why you can't have DM up, man, because you never know what kind of crap you're going to get. Um, I don't even know where I was at. Holy cow. Oh, yeah. The Shock 8Ks are no joke badass amplifiers. Today, I was running back-to-back scores on the windshield and on the floor, and I got it all on video. You guys should have seen by now if you watched my videos today. Um, it's up, and I got all those on there. And then I went over there and checked the temperature on the amplifiers, and my temperatures were 102 on the subwoofer amplifiers on both of them, and 103 on the mids and highs amp. That was after like half an hour of doing SPL tests. It's crazy. They get a lot warmer than that out doing shows though, out in the middle of the sun, in the parking lots and all that. But still, that's crazy good. They literally felt ever so slightly warm to the touch. Crazy stuff. Let's see here. Franco Quade's in the house. Stu is in the house. What's up, Stu? From Stu Custom Shop. Let's see here. Alexander. Alexander. That spelling has always messed with my brain. He said, "What's up?" Let's see here. It's Eddie Hernandez. What's up, man? Yep. And it looks like that's it. What's the theme? The theme. Ha! The theme.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever.
Will not stop. Y'all, I have issues, I'm going to tell you, and I'm having a good mood today. He said, "What's the theme?" He wasn't expecting that. He was not expecting that. That's the Terminator track that I just created. I finished. I've been working on that one for a couple of months, actually. I was working on the Incredible Hulk theme and the Terminator theme, and I've got one more that's part of that trilogy. It's the one that's been kicking my butt all day today. I've been trying to get things to work on it, but it's just fighting me in every inch of the way. So, and it's the Jurassic Park theme. Cannot quite get that where I want it. Let's see here. Goodness gracious alive. Y'all good. What's the theme? I already covered that. Well, I'm on here with all three of my. All right, hold on. Let's just put that up there. Well, I'm on here. I'm on year 3 with all 3 of my cars full of Recoil. You can't go wrong with that. I've still got Recoil stuff sitting in here right now. Um, I can go over there and grab a box. I got 2 sets of Recoil speakers on the shelf right there. Those have been in 3 different builds, and they all still work perfectly. I'm not going to dump on Recoil as far as the quality of their stuff. Not dumping on it at all. It's good equipment, and it's at a fair price. At least most of it. They have released this ridiculous subwoofer recently, which was really a bad move in my part because, in my opinion, because it was dumb. It's just dumb. I mean, it's not a bad looking sub, but they got it priced at this absolutely ridiculous price, and so it doesn't make any sense. You know, that's the issue when it comes to that stuff. Hang on a second here. Let me do a thing. Oh, I didn't know I had that function. I'm finding things. Hang on. I may lose audio at some point, but don't worry. I know about it and I'll get it back. Just a heads up on that. Let me back here. I'm going to look in here real quick and see if I can find this. That's not it. Oh, no, that's not it. I'm in the right department. We're getting there. No. Nope, it does not exist. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't know where I put the video. Well, you know, things like that happen. Yeah, I straight up can't find it now. It's around here somewhere. It'll show up tomorrow when I'm not looking for it. That's how that works. El Fuego, what's up, El Fuego? Glad to see you, man. So man, you guys are a hoot. But yeah, I had a video on the catch up to that in a second. I got a video on that sub. Stu reminder in here. Bobby B is slipping. Bobby's always slipping. You never know where Bobby's going to wind up at. Joe Berserker's in the house. El Fuego's in the house. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there, El Fuego. And at best, that may be a $400 or $500 sub. It is definitely not even remotely close to that. And I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they listed that. What's up, Joe Berserker? So yeah, Alexander said he's been telling the owner in China they don't get the U.S. market at all. True, 100%. I'm telling you though, the product's not bad. A lot of that stuff's really good. Like I still use a lot of their gear. I've got gear in there right now that's Recoil. That's you know the distribution blocks and fuse holders and stuff like that. I love using their stuff in that department. They have really good stuff. I mean, yes, it's all Chinese stuff. You know, let's just get that out of the. Let's clear the air with something, okay? Let's clear the air with some shit because I'm feeling some shit. I need to get this out of my chest. Okay, you pick whatever name brand you want. I don't care what it is. Pick any name brand. Either all or 99% of the shit that they sell either comes from China or the pieces to make it come from China and get put together here. And believe me this is another interesting tidbit. Which do you think is cheaper to ship? Fully assembled subwoofers or subwoofer parts? Think of how baskets are shaped. They're shaped where they can stack like cups. Okay? Magnets can stack. You can put a whole lot more disassembled subwoofers in boxes and ship them in a smaller space than you can assembled subwoofers. So whatever they say assembled in America, they're just trying to save money. That's all that does. That's all that is, man. Uh, there's no difference. The same gear, it all comes from overseas. Nobody is making shit here. Okay, now I take that back. Almost nobody's making shit here. There's a few, very, very few things that are actually being made in the United States. Almost everything comes from overseas. Most of it comes from China. The better stuff than that can come from South Korea. And then you got stuff that does come from Russia, does come from Germany, does come from France, Italy, all those places, yes. But you know what's funny about the stuff that comes from those countries? Half of that shit is made in China too. It just goes to Italy and then comes to the United States. Everything is made overseas. So that's the first thing to understand. We don't make car audio in the United States. The second thing is, yes, the manufacturers that build the shit overseas oftentimes will take the same exact pattern or very similar patterns and offer it up for wholesale prices on places like Alibaba and the harbor stores. There's a harbor store. There's 2 or 3 different ones, and it's just a hotel. It's actually not even wholesale. You can actually get it even cheaper than that. But the problem with buying stuff through them is you've got to pay the little price they show you. You may have to buy 100 or 500 to get that price. Then you got to pay to have it shipped over. Then you got to pay the dock fees and all the different fees to get into the United States, as well as the current tariff coming from that country. Trust me, you're not getting a good deal on it. You're going to get it at maybe 75% of the price that you could buy it for buying from a seller. Okay. So yes, it's all made in China. Your favorite shit's made in China too. So get off your high horse, get down here and roll around with the rest of us. But that doesn't mean anything bad. You know, they build quality shit. Obviously, you know where all of the the big ships that carry the cargo freight across the ocean back and forth, those great big ass ships, you know where they're made? They're made in China. You know where your phone is made, your computer, all the stuff that you rely on every day, the technology that you use and handle and abuse and it keeps working every damn day is all made in China. All that shit's made there. They know how to make stuff. They're really good at manufacturing. That's why they do what they do. They can not only manufacture things well, quickly, consistently, but also at a low price. We cannot do any of that shit in the United States. All right, let's see what's going on in chat. I'm done. I'm going to get off my horse. Let's see here. Bobby is slipping. Skip back down here and see where I left off at. Recoil slept on. It really is. They have a good assortment of equipment and the price is real reasonable. Joe said, good seeing you, man. Good seeing you too, Joe. I've been telling the owner, yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. You need to talk to him, man. You know, get him straight. Sometimes you just gotta talk to him and you gotta look at it. Truth, my friend. Like what? I thought I was seeing things. They should have released the SQL Rose Gold. They failed. Yeah, I like their setups. I've had good luck with all their equipment, so not complaining about it at all. If you guys are not familiar with Recoil Audio, that's what we're talking about. And they just recently released a subwoofer that's triple the price that it's even. I mean, that's a generous number. It's more than triple the price what it should be. That said, Recoil Audio does have some good gear. I've been using several different other speakers over the years, have never had any problem out of them, and they perform better than you expect. They perform far better than you expect. They perform in a bracket that's probably up many times over the price that you usually pay for them. What happened is apparently Recoil's decided that they're big enough now where they can, run with sundown and at sundown prices, and that's not what they're doing. They're not. They made that leap, and that was a bad idea. So that's what I'm talking about. For SQ, yeah, no doubt. Um, Recoil is nuts with their big sub prices. Yeah, they went kind of freaking insane. People forget Recoil built Diamond, all the Diamond audio stuff back in when. Mm-hmm. I got Diamond gear in here in my studio. I got Diamond gear in here too. I mean, yeah, they're it's great equipment too. I was listening to earlier video guessing your box is tuned to 34, 35 hertz. It's a bad guess. My box is tuned to 26 hertz. But cabin game messes with it. I mean, fair guess though. Fair. That's a fair guess based on the scores I was getting. But you have to remember that no matter what you tune your enclosure to, cabin gain is always going to add a lot of bottom end to it. It's just the way it works. That was from Joe. Let's see here. Alexander, 90% of the Moscone is Chinese. Yeah. I've been to that factory in Italy. It's an assembly plant. Yep. Let's see here. Focal is made in France. Sure. All right. You keep thinking that shit. Now, I'm going to assume that you're serious in that statement. Let's say that Focal is made in France. Let's just say that. Let's say that it's made in France, which it supposedly is. Do you think France is making the resistors? Do you think they're making the transistors? Do you think they're making all the coils and parts and components, the screws, everything that makes up that amplifier? Do you think all of that shit's made in France? No. At best, what I would say is they're getting an unassembled product and they're putting it together over there in France. They're not stupid. They're no stupider than we are. They want to make money too. They buy the shit from China, they build it there. That's at best. Most likely it comes straight from China to France and then, gets a couple of little pieces put onto it. Maybe they test it on the bench and then they send it out. It's all made in China, man. Let's see here. Uh-oh, W's up to no good. My brain feels like it was made in China. Yeah, no doubt. Well, technically it was. If you carry that smartphone around with you all the time and you pretty much use it for everything, it is part of your brain. We're all cyborgs now. You didn't realize it when it happened. Actually, the day that we started wearing a watch on our arm, we became a cyborg. The day that we spend most of our time in a car or on a bicycle, that's mechanical device you're attaching to your body and it's giving you enhanced abilities. It's a cyborg. I guess whenever we were still riding horses all the time, we were half horse, half human. I don't know. I go weird places in my head, so you guys don't judge me for that. W said they got banned from the Sony factory when he visited it. They said I fogged up the glass too much while I was lurking outside. I did not read that before I put it up there. That was a good one, W. The stuff that says made in the USA should stay assembled or inspected or labeled or nothing is made in the USA, man. Like what we make over here is shit like clothes hangers, bricks, 2x4s, nails, shit like that. We make that kind of shit. We make the shit that's simple. We make we still manufacture some like shotgun shells and shit like that. I know we make that in the US because I've worked at the companies that made this stuff in the US. So if you're buying a 12 gauge shotgun shell that's got the little plastic pieces in there and all that stuff, I've worked in a factory where every piece of that was made and the whole thing was made. So we definitely make that here. There are some stuff like that, but probably 98% of the shit in the United States is not made in the United States. Stu said, "Ha ha." Eddie, what's up, man? Eddie said, "What other equipment do you think comes out of that build house?" Son, um, that could be complicated. So y'all, I'm sure all of you are relatively intelligent older folks that have seen things, done things. Um, so you understand the basics of manufacturing, and one of the things that you get, at least currently, it may change in the future. You have to build molds for plastic pieces for injection molding and blow molding. You have to have a mold, and molds are not cheap. A mold can cost anywhere from 10,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's how you make a plastic part. Uh, I don't know. There's like my microphone thing there or whatever. Anything that's made out of plastic. Like I said, that may change here in the near future because of 3D printing. But so if a company makes, let's say there's a company A that builds subwoofers or speakers. They're gonna build all kinds of speakers. They'll probably have molds for a whole bunch of different kinds of baskets because they're going to stamp those. Most of the baskets are stamped steel. So they have to stamp that with a mold. Now, that may be the only company that has that mold, but there may be a dozen speaker manufacturers around that need a 12-inch subwoofer mold. So this one company may be stamping every single one of these speaker baskets, but they may be sending them out to different Chinese companies that are using that basket to build different speakers with. So you'll get that coming into the United States from multiple different places, but odds are it's the same company stamping those baskets out. And the same way when you have aluminum baskets, the same manufacturer is going to build every single one of those baskets that are that basket. Nobody's going to steal that basket and build the exact same basket. They're going to be buying them from the manufacturer. It's way cheaper and it works better. It gets really crazy how that works. Let's see here. Rick Pina just installed a Recoil fuse and ground block. Great price. I like their fuse and their fuse blocks. I absolutely do. Joe Berserker. El Fuego says linear power makes amps in the U.S. 2x150. It's like $3,000. Right. Exactly. I believe it's Orion that is going to be starting to, or actually they probably already have. It's right on the edge though, producing a couple of different amplifiers in the United States. And they're going to be priced in the unobtainium bracket. And here's the best part though. Even though they're going to build them in the U.S., design them and build them in the U.S. completely and charge outrageous prices for them, they're still going to be using every single component on that PC board comes from China. Every single one. It doesn't matter. We couldn't manufacture. Do you guys not remember the chip shortage thing? We couldn't build a car because we didn't have a chip. Why didn't we have a chip? Because we had China on lock. We didn't have any chips here. There was none. There's nowhere to get them. They all come from overseas. And that's insane. But it's the real deal. Even if you buy the thing here and it's made here, I promise you that the majority of the components on the inside come from out of this country. We cannot build that stuff in a cost-effective way, and which means nobody wants to pay the price to have shit built here. Nobody can afford it. It's just ridiculous. And The problem, I think, the problem is the way our economy is jacked up, and we got so much inflation that's happened that where other countries' economies have been fairly stable, and they're still paying their workers the same thing that they've been paying them, and the cost of living hasn't gone up much for those countries either. And so their economy is fairly stable. It doesn't really change. In the US, we have inflation because the government takes out loans, and then whenever they do, they introduce the loan is they go and have a bunch of money printed and they just put it in the market. That's their loan, right? So when you add all this money into the economy that didn't come from anywhere, then it lowers the value of the dollar. And as you lower the value of the dollar, everything has to go up in price to get the same amount of return for it, the same bartering power. As you do that, the cost of wages goes up. The U.S. has been doing this the whole time for years, doing this same rinse and repeat bullshit. And other countries didn't. So when we get shit manufactured outside of the country because we can get it stupid cheap because their economy is not all screwed up like ours is. And there's a lot of other reasons too, but this is just one of them. It's really nuts, man. And you say that, okay, that's another good point. Japan, and I agree 100% with you. But in the 70s, everybody was, oh man, that thing's made in Japan. It was made in Japan. That was junk. They made it over in Japan, one of them Japanese cars. That was an insult. It wasn't a compliment. Everybody said, I grew up in this era. I know. I was there. You know, when the Hondas came around, the Toyotas and all that stuff, when that stuff started coming in, people talked 9 kinds of cash shit about them. And then it wasn't long before we realized that, well, them little Toyotas and Hondas and Mitsubishis and all that, son, they would run forever. I mean, it was common for an American car to maybe right about that time in the late 70s, early 80s, it was common for an American car to maybe last 5 or 6 years, if that long. They were making shit. I mean, complete junk. If you remember, I wish a Ford and a Chevy still last 10 years like it should. That song? There's a very good reason for that, because that wasn't happening. And back in the 50s and 50s and 60s, even the early 70s, shit did last for 10 years. That was considered a really good thing. Then in the 80s, our American stuff was lasting a few years and it was dying because they were screwing everything up with all the smog devices and them trying to figure out how to use them. They were horrible. The Japanese came in with very efficient little engines that didn't need a whole lot of smogging, and they ran forever. They were great vehicles. We go, holy crap, they know how to do it. So the American companies started getting them to build all their shit for them. You know, Ford picked up Mazda, for example. Then came a point where we go, you know what, man, the Japanese, they build good shit. We figured that out. The Japanese got so popular with all their manufacturing that they started charging higher prices and becoming a premium brand. That's where China come in. China's held on to it since then, baby. It's very interesting, the history of our weird world. France just glues it and screws it together. Yeah, buddy. Joe Berserker. What's up, Rick Pena? Focal owns 2 or 3 manufacturing plants in China or something like that. Yep. Yeah. There's no sense in trying to hide it, man. Like I said, it don't matter. Well, you pick any name brand you want. They're getting stuff made in China. Because if they wasn't, they couldn't compete with the market. Not even close. It would be 5 or 6 times the price and at no better quality. all you'd be paying 5 or 6 times the price for a name brand because the quality wouldn't be any better, if not even as good. You guys watch some of the manufacturing going on in China? There's tons of videos on the internet where they show the Chinese manufacturing plants. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, you see these guys, they're all lined up. They're all cut clean. It's a super clean workplace. They're all wearing their little hair nets and stuff, and they're meticulously, quietly doing their jobs on point. You show any American factory, any American factory making anything, and it's a whole host of goofballs. Not saying they can't get shit done, but it's a whole different atmosphere. They take manufacturing extremely seriously. Some of those people will spend their entire life working in a factory, the same factory, and their whole family will live off that income over there, that one person's income. And it's very highly respected, and they respect their employers. It's just a whole different mentality. We do not have it right here. We do not. They have got a mindset for becoming a machine. You want to manufacture some shit, you do it in China. Everywhere else is going to be a struggle. Spent the last 40 years teaching China how to build stuff. Yep, honestly. Yeah, it's no surprise. Hey, what's up, my friend? There he is, the mad scientist himself. He decided to show up. Who is this? Marcos Solis. Want to know what's a trip? He said the prices of critical mass car audio. Gimmick prices? Absurd. Don't know. I'll have to dig in on that one. I will have to dig in on that one. That sounds like an interesting thing to look into. 15,000? He said 15 grand subwoofer? Yeah. No. Nope. When you're buying $15,000 subwoofers, you get that money where it doesn't matter anymore. You don't really care. The price is irrelevant. You make many millions of dollars a year, and you straight up don't even give a shit. That's that kind of money. I don't live in that world. W had to take a little short break. Stu, what's up, man? Let's see here. They have my mindset when it comes to being creative. Price it so you won't have to make another one. For real, man. We won't never sell any of them, so we ain't got to keep making them. That works. That works. Tyler Walker, what's up, man? Glad to see you here tonight. Oh, goodness. The thing's going crazy. Let's see here. Friday. What's up? Kick D, man. Good stuff. Let's see what Bay Harbor Butcher has to say. If you guys want to get a subwoofer enclosure built, designed, if you want to get one designed, this is the guy you need to get a hold of on Facebook right here. Look this guy up. Just can't wait for the massive plants over there. It's absolutely incredible, the size of the industry they have. We did some work over there, and it absolutely blew me away. Pennies in the dollar for them to manufacture on a massive scale. Exactly. Why would I buy? I mean, don't get me started on medication. Oh, son, that's a whole nother rant. But why would you pay if you can get the same exact identical product made in China for 3 cents, and here it would cost you $2, and you need to make, I don't know, 100,000 of them? It's a no-brainer, dude. Why? Why not do that? This our country. It's like originally our country contained everything. Everything that we needed was contained within our borders. But then we figured out. Well, let me go back further than that, though, because to explain how that all happened, this is my personal opinion. Back in the old days, everything that you needed was contained inside your homestead. your house, your barn, everything. You had your meat, you had your house, you had your field, you had, your ability to manufacture and make the stuff that you needed. You planed your own wood, you did the whole thing. Okay. And then we grouped the houses together and realized that, hey, this guy's better at this than this guy is. So that little small community started sharing the jobs, and they would trade work back and forth, and it worked better. That grew into a country that does the same thing. This is what we had back when I was a kid, really, a little before that. This whole country contained all the stuff, but it was happening all over the country. Some towns would their manufacturing would dry up, but they would still produce food. Things like that. The towns would go from being an entire town that had everything you needed to having part of what you needed while the other stuff came from over here. Started to share that economy. Well, at some point, our country's borders just fell down, and we started having different things happening in different parts of the world. Well, that world economy is really, really good for manufacturing product. There's a problem. The problem is we don't all get along very well all the time. And that's really the catch. If it wasn't for that, if everybody played on the same team, having a world-based economy and manufacturing center would be honestly awesome. But the problem is we don't. And since we don't, and you have stuff like medication being manufactured over here, where now there's a way to cause conflicts. If you're not getting along with the guy that makes your stuff, you don't get no more stuff. Or if you piss off his friend, i.e. Russia, you might not get no more stuff. There's leverages happening, big ones. And since we've given up the ability to manufacture stuff inside our borders, we're all subject to that. And this is the shitstorm that's happening right now. And is what it is. I got to go through that plant. I got to go to the plant, through the plant. It's making amp housings. Oh, that sounds fun. They were stacked up by the thousands. And just one day of production, paying workers a day what we make in 10 minutes. Exactly. And they're still living just fine. That their economy can handle that. Let's see here. Some RX a fraction of the price in Mexico or Canada, and no prescription requires. Yeah, you know where they're getting it from? Same place we are, but we're not. The FDA isn't controlling their stuff. The FDA adds 90% of the tax. Like gasoline taxes, gasoline prices, gas costs about $1 a gallon. Everything else on top of that is taxes. It's all taxes. Same thing with these things, cigarettes. It's all taxes. It's like they tax the crap out of everything. Let's see here. $15,000 subwoofer. Yeah. Yep. 60 to 80,000. Yeah, if you broke 100,000 miles, that was impressive. And shit, now it ain't nothing for regular equipment to do 300, 400,000 miles on a constant basis. The game changed completely. Joe said Shaq was in a magazine touting critical mass. Oh, if Shaq's talking about it, I can't afford that shit. Carbon fiber cones. That's awesome. A carbon fiber cone is pretty much probably the best material I can even think about making a subwoofer or any kind of larger speaker cone out of. is the best stuff for a speaker or a speaker cone of any kind is light and rigid. Carbon fiber meets both of those. It's also expensive as shit. Um, 1992, I paid $500 for an American-made Orion 225 HCCA. Yeah, no doubt. Good amp though. Alexander Critical Mass is hilariously overpriced. Uh, U.S. amps, yeah, yeah, for real. I really wanted to get on the U.S. amps train. I even I talked to that company quite a bit, and I mean, while I agree they make great products and it's made in the U.S., I can't sell that. I can't even suggest people. There, it's so expensive. It's like my market is a budget friendly market. Is people that I hang out with, people that watch my videos, are people that are budget minded people. We don't go around spending stupid money on stuff just because it has a name. It's got to make sense or it's not going to fly on this channel. And so yeah, we had to part ways, but yeah, I did. I talked to multiple people in the very very highest of the U.S. amps group, and it's great equipment, but it's stupid expensive. Oh yeah, Pioneer cassette players were priced $600. I can tell you guys, in the '90s, a subwoofer would cost you about $10 an inch. That's how much a medium price, like not a generic like a Walmart, but something a little bit better, like the top of the line Walmart sub, or maybe that middle shelf car audio store mid level sub was about $10 an inch. That's how much you'd pay for a sub, and we can actually get them cheaper now, which is insane. And then the good stuff was 20 or $30 an inch. And I know I'm using the inch because that was how much it cost. A 12 was $120, a 15 was $150. That's just what you expected to pay for them. Of course, a CD player, a CD player for your computer, that used to be something like anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for that little thing that slid into the tower. Now you can go on. Hell, people just give them to you, stacks of them. You could buy one brand new for $5, and it's no different. In fact, it's better than the one that was $500. Technology's gotten a lot cheaper. You know why? Technology all of a sudden got a lot cheaper because we're not making it in the United States anymore. That's why. If you start trying to build it in the U.S. again, those prices would come back, and we're not going to handle that shockwave. So if the prices came back, you said, well, the manufacturers should start making it here, then the people be getting paid to make it. And then, yes, all that shit would happen that you're thinking. Yeah, people would make more money, more people would be working, we'd be making more money per hour because we'd be able to sell stuff at higher prices, all that, and they would be able to afford to buy this stuff that's really expensive. All that would happen, but before that ever happened, the economy would completely crash. Completely crash. It would not. We would not survive that change. It has to be a slow, steady thing. It can't be an instant thing. We just can't do that. We cannot. We cannot do that. The rubber band would break before it snapped back. That's what I'm trying to say. It's only really good for the corporation's profit, not really much else. It's all about money, man. Joe Berserker, January '85. Federal government buying up all the old family farms. Yep, hamburgers going from 49 cents a pound to 99 cents a pound. Yep. First time I heard adults cussing out at the butcher. Yeah, I remember that myself. paid 500. Franco Quaid said I paid 500 for my JL Audio 500.1 Slash in 2003. And the funny thing is, you'd be lucky to get that same amplifier for that price today. That's a reasonably good price to pick it up on the used market right now. Pretty good price. Actually, it's a little high, but not too much. But yeah, it's a good amplifier too. Slash. I got one. I got Darth Vader in here somewhere. Can't remember where it's stashed away, but it's in here. I think it's on that shelf up there. Okay. Sat ha sa say sa satya is amplifier signal to noise ratio too important to SPL, or is that only for SQ? It can be important to SPL if it's ridiculously bad. If you got an amp, and the reason is if you got an amp that's got a lot of a really loud noise floor, and then you're cranking it up to a high level when there's no music playing, or whenever there's low music playing, you're going to get a lot of noise coming out of that. So it's relevant. It's not as big of a deal, but it does matter. So low noise to signal ratio is good across the board. It's not as big of a deal for SPL though. Nice to see you though. Nice to meet you. Stu said, I remember buying a pack of Marlboros for $1.80. Now I pay $8.90. Yeah, I can remember distinctly paying $1.10 for a pack, and it was $10 a carton. So the carton was cheaper than a pack. The pack was $1.10, and the carton was $10. They were like that for a very long time. For name brand smokes, Marlboro. I remember a 6-pack costing $6. And I don't know the prices on beer, man. I never was a drinker, or anything like that. I mean, I did, but I didn't do it a lot, and I didn't do it as I got older. I just didn't. It wasn't interesting. I never really was interested in stuff that messed up my brain. Some people enjoyed it, and most people enjoy it. I never enjoyed being out of my faculties needed to work as good as possible all the time. I don't know why, but I never got into the mind altering stuff too much. I just had this habit, and that's it. Could probably still get Southpaw for $6. We used to buy Bush. I remember that when we did drink beer, it was always Bush because that was the cheapest beer you could buy. Let's see here. A pack of smoke sold in the vending machine. Yeah, vending machine was $1.25 when I was young. I'm a little bit older than some of you guys. I paid way too much for a Sony GS9 a couple years ago. No, it's all good, man. We all get into our thing, man, and say, what's it worth to you? It don't matter what's it worth to everybody else. 100%, man. That's 100% accurate. I'm not even sure if it can be fixed in any kind of short time frame at all. El Fuego said JL makes the TW3 subs in Florida, and the 10 is over $500. Yep, they make the TW3. I like the TW3s. The best subwoofer that JL makes is the TW3 and the TW5. 100%. But I guarantee you, every part of that is not made in Florida. Guarantee it. Even if it may be just components of it that come from other places. They're not making every part of it, even if they're making the thing there. W0s are really efficient, sound great. Yep, 100%. Yeah, like I said, they're the best flat subwoofer, the best thin subwoofer ever. Period. No bullshit. Is the JL W3s and W5s. There's not a better flat subwoofer on the market. None. Not even close. Um, they just sound so good. One thing I've learned in life is you don't lose money on a vehicle until you sell it. 100%, man. If you're buying it as an investment, you're making a bad investment. No matter what, no matter what you're buying, if there's only a very few things that you can buy and expect to make money or even get your money back, or even get most of your money back. And cars are not one of them. Um, Houses, yes. Cars, no. So you don't buy a bunch of cars, buy houses, buy property, buy land. That shit almost always gets you back more than what you put into it. Almost always. Anything else is just you paying for it what it's worth to you. Because you're not going to get out of it what you put into it, and you're definitely not going to get out of it anything that you've done to it while you've had it. Like everything that you do to a car is just going to lower the value of that car, not raise it. You're going to spend a whole bunch of money lowering the value. So don't build it to sell. Build it for yourself, because that's just stupid to build it for sale. You're not going to make money out of it like that. Exactly, 100%. You guys are being awesome tonight, and I appreciate you. So hopefully, I'm still waiting on the good word. Let me look in the book over here. My friend and his crazy messages, man, cracks me up. Let me dig in here and see what's going on. So, yeah, I think he said, let me go back and reread this. I'm looking for information. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I know that. I'm trying to find you guys some juicy bits. So bear with me. Um, in the week. So the Oblivions are about a week away. So by next weekend ish, we should be getting the Oblivions on the website, the version twos, and the version one Oblivions. Oh, here's some good info. The version one Oblivions will be on sale with with my code. With my code, you're looking at mid $200 for the Oblivions, the version ones, and the low to mid $200. That's coming from Alan himself. Um, so just a heads up. This next week or two, this time and now and then is the best time to be trying to get some good solid subwoofers at a low price. This is a good time for that. How we're doing the taco.
Crushing on these tacos, we by the fiesta. Guac on the side, man, you know it's the best. Lettuce and salsa, stack it high, make it pop. Crunch in my mouth, can't stop, won't drop. Sliver in, flavors cold and so sweet. After one taco, I'm in for a repeat. Bite after bite, got me dancing in my seat. Hitting up the taqueria, can't face defeat. Taco love in every single bite. Feeling good, every feast all night.
I love that little dancing dude. Um, Trap House TV, what's up, man? He dropped a 5 on the taco truck, pulling the cage out of the PPV Tahoe, listening to the pod. I love it, big dog. It would be an honor to pick your brain on this build. Son, I would, like I said, Just park it. All you need to do is just park it in my driveway, and I'll take care of it for you. No, hit me up in the email, and we'll go from there. Absolutely, and I'll help you. I'll walk you through some different stuff. Just give you someone to bounce ideas off of. I'm good at that too. I'm a real good idea guy. I'm not a very good math guy. I do ideas good though. I excel at that. And thanks for the hot donation and the package of tacos. Oh, Stu said, let's put together a system plan for a budget. Let's say $1,500. See, this sounds suspicious. $1,500 in a standard sedan. Well, see, it's not that simple, man. Like, what are you trying to do? What do we want this sedan to do? Do we want it to score high on the meter, or do we want it to sound amazing? Are we going SQ or SPL or SQL? That's the first question. I need to know that because that drives everything. And $1,500 is a tight budget, so we're not going to get stupid loud on that price. I mean, hell, I could spend that on my alternator and a couple of fuse blocks. But yeah, I mean, it's doable. We just need to know. We need to know a lot of things, and that's a tight to build something quality in that price range takes time. I'd probably spend an hour and a half dedicated just researching equipment to find the right prices on stuff. But I mean, it's doable. So let's poke here. I mean, we can't get deep, okay? We can't get deep in that because, like I said, we don't know exactly what we're doing. But we're going to head over to Slapz Audio and we're going to look at some stuff. So bear with me just 1 second here. Let me do my thing. And hopefully we don't lose audio because that's always fun when that happens. We're going to jump over here. And we don't want to share audio. We'll do that. Let me make sure I still have audio. Okay. So we're good. Got to watch that. It's sneaky, man. The software is sneaky. So if we're going to go over here, you said for a sedan, so we're probably doing 6.5s. Somebody needs to get out the calculator and start adding stuff up when I give it to you. I would start out with the Slapz Audio Mini 160.4 for the 4 doors. It would absolutely do it, but we're not going to cut it quite that short. What we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to do 2 of these guys. So we want 2. We're going to build 2 possible ways. We're going to do 2 of these micro amps, these 160.4s. So that's 10% off because we're going to use my discount code. So we're going to call them $200. And on that, we could use one amplifier for our front stage, the other amplifier for the rear stage and the subwoofer. If we're doing SQ, we could absolutely get away with that. And so that would be $200 for the amplifiers. Now, if we don't want to go, if we want a little more power, we could always drop in here and get this 2K.4. That could run subs. Or the 3K, it would be a good solid sub amplifier. This would give you room to grow here. So for an additional $79, let's say we just get one of these. We're not going to run any rear door speakers, and one of these. If we want to get a little bit more balls in the trunk. So that'd be $279. So we'll say we'll just leave it at that price after shipping and everything. So we figured out pretty much what we're going to do here at amplifiers. We can do it in under $300 for a pretty basic system. And if we go over here to the mid bass and tweeters, we could pick up the 6.5s. Not those. Let me pick out what I'm looking for. The 6.5s, this is $52 a pair. So we pick up a pair of these guys, and that's the 5.25 and the 6.5. Either one of them are about $50 minus that 10%. And then we could come over here and grab a set of these tweeters for $26 for our front stage. And we would have less than $100 in the front stage and speakers. And now we're up to pretty much a maximum of about $400. All of our speakers are handled. We're still going to need a few other things though, and a few of these things are available on Slapz. We do have an amp kit right here to handle the big amplifier in the back, to run that for $129. That's a nice kit too, guys. Of course, we're going to get the gain knob and all that with our amp. And we can pick up these parts. We don't need this. This actually comes with a fuse holder. So that would get us there. We can get by without a distribution block. And then depending on how you play it from that point on, when we're like $400 in. And at $400 in, we can basically do the front channels, the subwoofer. We're going to need a box. So you'd head over to GP and pick up a True Spec or a Glue It and Screw It box. And you'd probably be in at a few $100 on that. Then when you add in more wire, you could add another 100. So you're up to about 1,000. So at that point, that other 500 you could use on sound deadening and stereo system. It's very doable, but it all depends on exactly what you're doing. It's not, there's not a one size fits all kind of a solution. So, but yeah, it's always fun to do. I can do it, but I have to be specifically targeted toward very, very specific thing to really make that into anything logical. But thank you, Stu, for that that suggestion. That's the quick version. Yeah, Sony Explode setup. Yeah. Where did the thing go? Holy crap. Tacos. Love me some tacos. Me too, man. Me too. What's up? Born Joker. Back in the day, a budget system, you would buy a decent CD deck and you should run your highs off of that. Spend all your money on an okay subsystem. $500 was a lot of money back then. And see, that was back in your days. Back in my days, there was no such thing as a subwoofer. They literally, I know this is going to blow your mind, but the term subwoofer didn't even exist. We had woofers and we had tweeters. We didn't even talk about mid-ranges. It was just woofers and tweeters, and that's it. You had the big speakers and the little speakers. That was it. So yeah, it kind of things changed, things evolved. So yeah, it's a trip, man, from the stuff that's changed over the years. But we were taking speakers out of home stereo systems. I know you guys, everybody's done that at some point, but that's all we had. There was no car audio woofers to buy. It was you got your home stereo and you pulled the woofer out of there. It weighed like a pound, and figured out how to mount that somewhere in the car. There was some really crazy shit happening. That was when it was all born. That's when everything was born. That was the I'm from the generation that made all that stuff happen. It was people my age that invented the car audio scene that's out there now. Straight up. The guys that founded Kicker, that founded Rockford Fosgate, the guys that founded Jail, all those people are my age. We all came from that same generation. Very interesting thing. Let's see here. Like what Which way would I do it if it were mine? Ooh, my sedan. Ooh, what would I do? So I'm assuming I still have my Tahoe, so I don't need a monster. I'd be building a basic base vehicle. I would probably do if my daily driver. If I was creating a car for my daily driver, it would have bass. Don't get me wrong; it's going to have some bass. Um, I would probably do a very subdued bass system, though. I would probably have like an 8. I would build a flush cabinet to one side of my trunk. Um, I really don't need a trunk. It's the bass head talking, but no, I would probably build I'd build a fiberglass cabinet to fit up into one side of the trunk, leaving the most of my flat area in my trunk open. Um, have the amps mounted on underneath the tray rack, underneath the back window, up under there. I'd put an amp board up under there with some feet to hold it down so that the mechanics of the trunk could still function. And I probably would run a pretty solid front end. That's the thing. I would probably try to find somewhere to put a little sub in the front of the car, so that I could get a good front stage up there. A good solid low end front stage. And I would completely do the doors up. The front doors would get tons of work. Um, so yeah, I'd put some serious, probably some 8s in the front doors. I'd probably have to rebuild them inside to make them fit them. I'd want some big cone area in the front, and try to build something that fit up under the dash or in the passenger seat, like up under the dash somewhere, to give me a little bit of extra bottom end in the front of the car, because that front stage base, once you have that, you just can't. It's so awesome. It's just so awesome to have bass that comes from the front. It's so awesome. So yeah, I don't know. It would be an interesting. I'd have to look at the car, but gives you some ideas, kind of what I would do. Recoil SPL sub running off the head unit. Man, okay, get her done. $1,500 and done, he says. You guys, you guys are all insane. I love it. Oh my goodness. Ah, what did you do? It did it again and the thing.
Crushing on these taco, we buy the fiesta. Guac
You
on
know
the
what?
side,
You know
man,
what?
you know it's the best.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do it, baby. We're gonna do this. Ah, I love it. Oh, trap house. We're making this shit up on the fly, man. There's no sense in half stepping. They said I helped the bud. I helped the bud one all. I shit. Let me get my lips put back on my face. I helped a bud on a okay. All B2 build. All right, all right. Should I tell him to get the 15 Oblivions for more bang on his build? He has the 15 Riots. They've been reliable so far. The Riots are actually a step down. Or they're well, I'm gonna have to refresh my brain. Hang tight for a second. Let me whip it up. shit. I don't like speaking unless I know. If I don't know 100%, I got to go look and make sure that I'm saying what I'm supposed to be saying. Um, I want to say, yeah, that's the Rage series. Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. Yeah. The Rages are the riots are a significant step down. So yeah, big time. Um, wow. All right, hang on a second here. Let's see what happens if I do this. You know, that never goes well. Let's see what happens if I do this. All right, guys. Um, okay, let's take a look at this. Uh, yeah. So this is the B2 Audio Riot Series. Now, I do like some B2 audio, guys. Don't get me wrong. There's a reason why I don't push B2 audio. It's because I think they're priced higher than what my market can support for what you get. I don't think they're worth the price that they charge for their stuff, a lot of it. And that's why. And I'm just going to let you guys look at it. Okay. This is the this is the B2 Audio Riot Series 15, and it sells for $379. You can get a discount with my code though. I do have a discount code for B2, so it will give you a discount. I don't know what it is, but this package weighs 33 pounds. Okay, the whole package weighs 33 pounds. That's kind of a starting point, right? And you guys can see what we're looking at here. I mean, come on, it's 750 watts RMS, 3-inch voice coil. You know, I mean, we can go down here and dig, but compare and then look at the price, okay? And look at the price. The price was what, $379? Is that what it was? Yeah, $379. Okay, so it's just shy of $400. Okay, now compare that. Oh, that's not what we're looking for. Where'd it go? Let's go over here and we're going to pull up the Oblivion. Now I don't have the Oblivion version 2 up here yet, but just the version 1. So let's look at that. Let's look at this. Okay, here's the version 1. It's not even. This isn't even the big boy. This is the version 1 Oblivion. It's $120 less expensive. Has a 2,000 watt RMS. Now, it's right off the bat. You just look at that and you go, yeah, that's not even the same. That doesn't even belong in the same competition. It doesn't fit. Let's dig a little deeper though. Let's go down here and look at some real stuff. So on the version 1, the X Max on that is 30 millimeters. Now we go back to the Riot series. Let's see if we can find. We're going to cross-reference some information here. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so its X Max is 20 millimeters. So the peak to peak on this guy is 40 millimeters. The peak to peak on the other one would be 60 millimeters. That's a third more travel. Like I said, you're just going to find that kind of stuff all the way through here. This is just not, this sub is not on that level. Not saying it's a bad sub. It's just not on that level, and it's significantly more expensive. Let's back up a little bit. And that's the Oblivion. We're not even talking about the Smackdown. Let's back up a little bit. Let's go up to the Rage series. All right, in the Rage series, this one, that's the carbon fiber one. Let's not go that far because we're gonna keep it in the fair department. All right, Rage series. This guy handles 2,000 watts RMS. This is kind of on par with the Oblivion. It's on par with the Oblivion, and of course it's $600. So for the price of one of these, you can get 2 Oblivions. And yeah, so but this is on par with it. This is actually on par with the Oblivion. It's not on par with the Smackdown. And it's got a 3-inch voice coil. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. It does have a bigger magnet. This has got a 600-ounce magnet. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has a significant amount more motor force. And it is double the price. 35 hertz FB for the ported, 30 hertz port area. Now y'all got me digging around. The point is, this is on par with the Oblivion, not the Smackdown, and this is more than twice as expensive as the Oblivion. And the Oblivion is on sale. The version 1. The version 1 is on sale right now. It's going to be. This guy right here, where you see it listed for $249, it's going to be less than $200. It'll be low twos. So it's going to have some knocked off of it. It'll be even cheaper after the version 2s come out. I don't know exactly what the price is going to be, but it's going to be on sale. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, would it more bang for his build? Yes. The Riots, nothing wrong with the Riots, but stepping up to the Oblivions would absolutely be an upgrade over the Riots. But if you're going to do that, you might want to look at the Smackdown version 1s, because they're right at $400 a piece with my discount. Keep that all in mind, man. And that's a whole lot of sub. And thank you for the tacos. Let's see here. Barn Joker said put 4 8s. Now, girlfriend's car, she had a little yellow sports car, and it sounded like a bee. Yeah, no kidding, man. Yeah, Sony Explode. You need $13 total. Yeah, I saw it earlier. Cracked me up. I got to catch up. No, Explode. I had a Sony Explode system. I did. I had a whole entire Sony Explode system that I put together. Had 2 12-inch subs and a 1300, I think it was a 1300 watt Sony Explode amplifier. I built that in a Ford Probe. The car was white, and the Explode, all the carpet was red. I did all the carpet in the back. I did custom panels. Guys, this looked really good. It looked as good as, or it looked better than anything I built in the recent time. It was a nice looking build. It didn't have the power that my current stuff does, but it looked the part. So it was all red, carpeted. Everything was red, smooth and pretty. I had got a Sony Explode logo and stitched it into the carpet. And I had a cover that came down when you closed the hatch. It had the little strings, and the cover would come down. And when that cover set down, it was all gray. Everything was gray, so it was totally hidden. When you walked up on the car, you just saw a black, gray cover, and I left about 3 inches of space back there so that the subs could get through. The sound could get through. But then whenever I had it opened up, you could have that thing propped up, and I had a logo underneath the black. It was really cool, guys. It was really cool. It didn't have as much ass as it looked like it did, but it looked really good. So I actually had a full Sony Explode build. And this is back right when the Explodes were hitting hard. They just come out and were hitting hard. Easy 180s. Hell yeah, brother. Let's see here. 180 6x9s for the win. Yeah, I've done that too. That build had 6x9s in it too. That back deck, I forgot about that. The back deck right behind the seat, I had 2 6x9s. So when you drop the deck down, that panel down, the 6x9s were all that was showing back there. And then I had 6.5s in the front doors. I'm pretty sure I had bi-9s. I either had bi-9s or 6.5. I think I had bi-9s on that backboard, on that board. So that was all you saw whenever the thing was closed. It looked real good. Back then, we were really worried about people seeing radios in our shit. That's why everybody had the detachable face stuff and the pull-out radios. And anymore, nobody steals radios anymore. That just doesn't happen anymore. Back then, it was a huge thing. Like, huge. Tremendously huge. But not no more. Explode. When Joe chimed in. Okay. Girlfriend's car. I'm trying to catch back up. This thing jumps around on me. My little scrolly dilly bobber majigger. Still have some 4x10s. Yep, I use those. 6x9 adapters. Yeah, back in the day, that was what was behind the seat of your pickup truck over on the side. You had a standard cab truck over here behind your shoulder, depending on which side you were on. But in the corner of the cab, they had little 4x10s running up and down. Sometimes you'd find them in the middle of a dash, too. In the center, a lot of cars just had one speaker, and it was in the middle of the dash. And yeah, you could buy a factory car that had one speaker in the middle of the dash. And good luck changing that son of a bitch. That was fun. You had to get up on the floor and reach up in the dash, and yeah, that was rough. And you got cut all to shit. And the way they attached the speaker to the dash was with these little bitty tiny nuts that were hollow. And they had a little bell on the bottom of them. And you could get up in there with a pair of pliers and kind of get them started. Because, again, you couldn't see what you were doing. You're just reaching. Yeah, audio was fun as hell, man. Good times all around. I know a lot of y'all with cuts or with scars on your arm right now from putting a dash speaker in a car back in the 70s. Frank said, that's my backup bass plan. Hell yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't no 10-inch woofers. This shit was straight up speakers. It was bonkers. 410s. Old Dodge pickup had them. Yeah, the 4x10s, yeah. Yep. I always wire my subs to achieve 0 ohm load. I always go to 0 ohms, baby. You got to get that 0 ohms. 0. Tyler said, y'all going to make me hungry. I keep it up. Tacos sound great. I ain't had tacos for a few days, man. I got pissed off at Taco Bell. I went to get the wife and take her to Taco Bell. Went up there, and the first time, and they had that new ordering kiosk where you got to type the shit into the little screen. You can't talk to the person, and I said I want a person. They finally had somebody come up there, and I ordered my shit, and everything was good. And a couple of days later, I was back up there again. I went up there, and that little screen was still up there looking at me, and I was like, I want a real person. They said, oh, we can't do that no more. I said, Why not? I said, you got a register right there. I said, yeah, but we can't do that. I said, well, how do I pay for something with cash? I said, well, then I have to ring it up in the register. Well, just do that and I'll give you my card. It's like, and we went back and forth for a minute. I said, you know what? Screw you. I'll go to Wendy's. And I left. And I was done with them. It pissed me the hell off. Bad enough they only got Pepsi products. But then they want to make me order on a damn screen. They got people right there that can talk to me. I just want to order my food, sit down, eat my food, hang out with my wife. I don't want to deal with your stupid little screen. You know, put me a live person up here. This is how things get done. Son, I'm trying. I'm fighting for us all, y'all. 0 ohms. Yeah, baby. Oh, I burned up a lot of speakers. I have burned up a bunch of them over the years, man. 4 ohms. Stu said, I think I'd try to do a Walmart's bill with a $1,500 budget. You can get there. Power acoustic, yeah. Gothic 12 in a ported box, sure. The thing I like to try to, the thing I point out to people that are building on an extreme budget is this. And this is going to sound stupid, okay? But hear me out. Don't spread the money out. Spend the bulk of your budget on one thing. And then use a little bit on the other part. And the reason, because you're going to upgrade. And it's a drug. You're not going to start out, you're not going to continue to use the same dose that you start out on. It's going to double and double and double. You're going to keep upgrading. If you go in there and you buy cheap everything, you really shave money off everything and you buy all cheap everything, there's nothing in this build that you're going to end up keeping, right? You're going to end up replacing everything. But if you put the bulk of your budget on one thing, say a good 4-channel amplifier, okay? Then use the system as it is with the 4-channel, or a good sub and amp combo to start with. Those things are going to give you something that you can build onto later and won't necessarily have to replace right away. So usually I wouldn't recommend building a whole system on a budget. I would recommend getting by with most of it and replacing one part of it with a pretty good version of the thing that you're replacing it with. Because that way you're not spending the same money again. You know, you can keep that piece and you can keep adding to it. Get a really nice head unit, you know, that does exactly the stuff that you want. The big screen, whatever it is, you know, and wait until you can afford to start replacing other pieces. Get the stuff that you need first with the good stuff, and then replace the other stuff with good stuff later on. So, yeah. Haven't been there and done that. I'm just telling you, this is stuff I know. DB scores of those budget bills? Well, oh, shit. Can't think of his name now. It's a sad state of affairs. Who is it that's doing the Parker the Basehead? Parker the Basehead is doing a build in a Tahoe or a Suburban. I think it's a Suburban, where he's doing all Walmart gear. Go check him out. Excellent channel, excellent build. And he's already done some scoring on it. So you guys can actually see some numbers. I'm not quite done with it, Joe. I was watching the last video of it again today just to kind of catch up. But yeah, go check it out. Parker the Basehead. Let's see. Stu, Franco Quaid. S&D territory. Yeah. And they're competing with them. They're competing with SMD. They're competing with Sundown, and they're every bit as good as Sundown, and they're the same price as Sundown. There's nothing to be gained by that. Which color brand do you prefer? That's the truth, and honestly, it's the truth. Which brand looks the coolest to you? When Sundown's top line shit. There's not a whole lot of not many people that's competing. They really don't have much competition in the top tier department as far as sound pressure and stupid loud stuff. There's just nobody out there that's really competing with their top of the line stuff. GP's got that sub, which it is a Sundown design, so it's using a Sundown basket. It's a Sundown design. Again, it's one of those that's in that level. If you can afford to pay $1,500 for a subwoofer, get the GP Undertaker version too. It's going to do the subwoofer thing, stupid well, like really well, but you're going to need to have at least 5,000 watts per sub, I would say, and they're rated at that. You could probably run significantly more than that. But we're talking about a lot of money, and Recoil has not earned the credibility to be in that league. They don't have that credibility yet. Golden Eagle, yes, I have, and I almost hooked up with them whenever I was looking. When I ended up with Slapz, I almost hooked up with Golden Eagle. I also almost hooked up with Harmony Audio. I also looked at Trinity Audio. There was quite a few companies that were talking to me, and we were talking back and forth. So great product, good prices. I just couldn't come to terms with them at the time. So it is what it is. Better tuning. Golden Eagle's kind of EVL territory from what I experienced. Maybe. Which is not necessarily a good thing. The EVL is kind of a speaker with a very colored history. It has a loyal fan base and also a loyal base of people that hate it, and it's very divisive, kind of like the Tesla truck, except not as good as the Tesla truck, or as bad as the Tesla. Depends on how you look at it. I do like the fact that Elon Musk is he's actually revolutionized a lot of shit. A lot of the stuff that we're playing with today, we have him to thank for pushing the battery technology and getting, because that's where all this lithium's coming from. You could thank Elon Musk for all of it, because whenever he actually created an industry that needed lithium to run on, he kicked the researchers into gear building that stuff, and nobody was really doing that prior to then. So, we have him to thank for our amazing batteries in a roundabout way. Yeah, 6 is a little, like I said, it's a budget thing. It all depends on what your budget is, It's steep for my budget. I can't, and especially for what I'm getting, I can't appreciate that. I don't think the sub is worth quite that much. Not that it's a bad sub, I just don't think it's worth quite that much. So that's my problem with them. That said, B2 has got a few things that you can find. They got some pretty cool deals on some amplifiers, and they're pretty cool amplifiers. They got the little DSP like on my wall back here. It's a really good buy. They've also got some good mids and highs. B2 has some good stuff. I just don't agree with the prices across the board on their stuff. Blue collar. Let's see. Joe Berserker said blue collar. I have 4 Golden Eagle 18s about 3 foot away. 1500 watt RMS. 25 millimeters X-Max for the money. Decent. Got you, boss. Like I said, I almost got lined up with them. I researched a lot of stuff. I was looking specifically for gear, and then I talked to the people that own the companies. I liked the the ones I picked in the end, my final picks were Slapz Audio and Trinity. And Trinity makes really good shit. They got some really badass subs. They're not cheap though. They're still pricey. I liked Harmony too. And Harmony, that company is actually located right down the road from me, like within a 20-minute drive from my house. And I still haven't been over there yet because I'm a stupid ass and I keep forgetting about it. But the Harmony 15s were a solid choice. So I was looking at those three, and then I kind of decided that Trinity was outside of my price bracket, and I couldn't get a hold of Harmony to talk to them over the email. And I immediately got a hold of Slapz, and they immediately started working with me. So that just kind of took over. It was a combination of the people, the product, the price, all those things together led me to Slapz. I was able to communicate with them quickly and competently, and the prices were right, and the equipment was right. Everything was right. All those things, all the boxes were checked. So they ended up getting the deal. I did a build with some Rockville Punisher 8s and then 10s and a Silverado for a customer. Not bad subs at all. Yeah, and they you don't want to overpower those either because they overrate their voice coils. But yeah, they're not bad subs. They actually sound pretty good. I've heard I've had a buddy that was running 4 15s and in a ported flat wall, a driver ported flat wall in a Crown Vic, a Lex police car, doing, high 50s, like, in that build with Rockville Punishers. So, and, but he was burping them and that was it. And he wasn't giving them power for any length of time. So I don't know, but yeah, they can do great things as long as you know what you're messing with and you don't overdo it. Yeah, no, my probe was definitely not turbo. The Ford probe had the Ford Taurus engine and transmission in it, but it was a cool little car. It was really a cool car. It was a good looking car. I had an Eagle Talon too, which was essentially a Mitsubishi 3000. I liked it. I drove it for a long time. That's back when I was working as a manager at Wendy's, and I was working my ass off, dude. I was putting in 70, 80 hours a week every week. And they said, "Oh, we're gonna make you a manager." They did that, and then they made me a store manager. They did that, and that was a mistake because they started giving me salary, and salaries where they fuck you from sideways, man. Salary is the worst thing that can happen to a person. They basically decided that I did not need to leave the store anymore, and I would work. Dude, I was working so many hours. I was working in multiple stores. I was jumping from store to store, covering for the managers. The district manager was talking about making me a district manager, and him moving into a different position. And I ended up leaving. I couldn't handle the stress anymore. I did that shit for 9 years. And that's an absolute shit show, man. Fast food management is the second most stressful job in existence. The first one being as an ER doctor. If you find the list, fast food management is number 2. And I can 100% vouch for that. See, I went off down a rabbit hole. I live my life in rabbit holes. I always remember being surprised the first time I put some 6x9s. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had a Ford Fairmont, 85 Ford Fairmont. Same chassis as the Fox Body Mustang. Funny thing about the Ford Fairmont Futura, they got the same name as the car they made the Batmobile out of. So it was like a future car, and it was a one of a kind that Burris got a hold of to make the Batmobile. Well, that was a Ford Fairmont Futura that he got. Well, in the 80s, they re-released that car, a different name. It was basically a Fox body Mustang with a bigger trunk and a longer hood, four-door, sedan. And it had two 6x9s in the back and had two little door speakers up front. And I always struggle with that because you had control over the left and right. You had control over the front to rear fade. Had the little slider, front to rear slider on the Ford radio. Push buttons for the stations, left and right. The volume and tone was on the left, and the fader front, the the right. So the volume and tone was on the left, and the left to right fade was on the right, and then the tuning knob was over there. And then you had the front to rear fade was a little slider thing, which you always had to move back and forth real fast to get the dust out of it because it gets staticky. But I always remember, God, I can remember all this shit in my head. It's like so clear. I was very frustrated because I liked the sound better in the front speakers, right? But if I got too much to the front, there wasn't no bass. So you had to push it back. You had to get that sweet spot to get it, because I wanted the sound coming from the front, but I wanted the bass. And I always struggle with that because Mama would go in the store and be shopping, and I'd be sitting in the parking lot in the car with the key playing with the radio because of course I did. I mean, duh. That's what we did. You guys did it too. But I remember that was frustrating to me. It was and then came a point in life later on in life where you could add a subwoofer and all of a sudden you could get all of it at one time. Wow. The old pullouts. Yeah, man. The pullouts, the detachable faces that once you detach them, they literally never worked again. Good times. Blue Collar Misfit said, I'm looking for more towards budget audio to run to show people it's not all about how much you spend on equipment. Sir, you're in the right place. I've got like 1,100 videos. Pretty much any question you have in that subject is on this channel, probably in 10 different videos. So you're at the right place and you were hanging out with the right people. We all think that way. Nothing like walking through the mall with your radio facing your pocket. Yeah. I didn't get to go to malls back then. I grew up in the country, so I knew what a mall was, but I never went to one because it was hundreds of miles away from where I lived. But yeah, nothing funnier than seeing someone use 8,000 watts to get 140 dB score. And W, that's an interesting thing that actually happens. And what I've found most of the time is they're not getting anywhere near that much power out of it. They'll have an 8,000 watt amp in it, have decent subs, and then have total crap for electrical. And so they're not getting anywhere near that much power out of it. And even if they are, then they built their box way too small that it's just, yeah. But yeah, it can be frustrating to be there. I mean, I see the same thing. I mean, right now I'm pulling 153 dB out of my Tahoe, but I see guys that are running half of the shit that I've got that are getting a significantly higher score than me. So there's always somebody out there that's looking at you going, what the hell? It doesn't matter how big you are. There's somebody else that's doing more with less. You know what I'm saying? But so I've learned to just enjoy life and just find your own road and try to stay on that and just, fight yourself, compete with yourself. Born Joker. You could probably get 130. Yeah, you could probably get 130 with $1,000. Oh, you could do it a lot less than that, man. A lot less. It's the vast majority of it's about the box. Getting the right box and the right vehicle. And You can make a high sound pressure level, but that doesn't mean it's going to sound good. It's just going to make a loud noise that'll make the meter go up high. But yeah, that doesn't require a lot of money. It just requires a very specific build. The more brains you have, this is the truth across the board, but the more brains you have, the more you use this, the less you have to use this. Okay. And the less of this you have, the more of that you have to use. Knowledge is free. It's all over the internet. You can either spend money or spend time learning. You know, that's the truth. Yep, exactly. For small cab, sure. That's always a plus. The smaller the space is that you're trying to pressurize, the more pressure you can build. It's just physics, you know. If you start out with a lot of space, you got to shrink it. You know, bringing in a wall, pushing that cabin, squeezing that cabin this direction. Door panels, thicker door panels, bring in the doors, squeezes the space up a little more. A large console, people have done that trick. Building these crazy big consoles in a vehicle, that's taking up cabin space. And it's also creating a channel over here to pressurize a chamber for the meter. There's all kinds of things that go on, guys. It's not all about the speakers and the amps. So much more. So much more. Bourne said, I always own compact cars. I did. I grew up on the big Fords. I had so many. I had many, many big Fords, big old Ford cars. I've only owned a few trucks in my life, but I owned a lot of big old Ford cars. And then I got the Honda and the Subaru, and those are pretty cool. I've had multiple little cars later on in my life. Funny thing, I had a truck for a very long time. I had a 2016 Chevy pickup, and I owned it for a couple of years. I don't think I ever put one single thing in the back of that truck. Not one single thing did I ever put in the back of that truck. Interesting, right? 4x6s, best dash base forever. Hey, I like my 4x6s. I like the little Alpine Type R 4x6s. I mean, Alpine Type R's are nasty speakers. Actually, I think that they changed quite a bit, though. The newer models look different. Now the Type S's look like the old Type R's. But yeah, I like them Type R's, man. They were tough as shit. Sounded great. Exactly. Uh, spending the money on one thing, and then, like if you get a new car, you got your new system, your sedan, and the radio is a piece of shit, get a good radio. Get a radio that has everything that you want. Don't compromise. Get the best one you can that has everything that you want. And then later on, whenever you realize that the door speakers need to be replaced and you got a little money, get some door speakers. But you won't have to replace the head unit now. You know, that's my best advice. Don't spread it out. Buy something that's going to help you right away, and you're not going to have to replace later on whenever you do inevitably upgrade stuff. I always add to my system, bass first. Yep. Yeah, starting out with just a subwoofer and an amp is a good choice, but you also don't want to start out with like a sub amp combo, because you're not going to be able to use either one of those. Later, you're going to replace them both. So, I mean, if you're gonna start out, probably with a subwoofer and a good enclosure, a good enclosure, not a piece of shit that you buy at some department store, but legitimately a good enclosure, and a good subwoofer, and then put a shitty amp on it. If you need to. Spend the money on that first, though. Get the good sub, good enclosure, and then go cheap on the amp. because you're going to replace the amp anyway. And then next time you get a chance, maybe drop and get you a 5-channel. You can always use a 5-channel as a 4-channel later if you get a different amp. But you could use that 5-channel for a long, long time and power up the whole system. Piece by piece like that's always going to net you a better result. Sound treatment's big, yeah, Stu, absolutely. Sound treatment's huge. It doesn't. You don't see as much. So that's the thing. The thing that comes about sound treatment, and this is something that I recommend. It's a tricky process. It's a tricky thing to explain to a person. You get a return from it, yes, but you may not notice it. You may not notice it at all, depending on the circumstances. And it's quite an expensive thing to do. But when you're going to take the doors apart anyway to put in speakers, putting some degree of sound treatment around those speakers is going to give you a better product, whether the person realizes it's been improved or not. But if you don't notice the improvement, your brain doesn't register that as a good buy. So if you don't experience it without the sound treatment, then you don't see the difference. You see what I'm saying? It's a hard thing to push, and people see it doesn't. It's just a tricky product all the way around because it's not obvious. It's not. People buy with their eyes, and it's hard to sell a piece of mat stuck to the body panel inside their car as being something that's going to make their stereo sound better. Especially, they can't even see it once it's done. Did you even do it? Who knows? So it's a tricky product. But I agree it's 100% important when it's done properly. Mostly it's not usually done properly. Pretty much everybody does it wrong. But even done wrong, it's still better than nothing. So there's that. You can tune the deck to just highs and it sounds decent. Yeah. Yeah, you put an amplifier and a sub in the trunk, and then take the bass out of your mids and highs so that they can not have to play that bass frequency anymore, and you can get a lot more life out of those old drivers because they're not being forced to play bass frequencies. So you can crank them on up, and that will get you by for a while. W said my stock battery and alternator. Watching me add the 4th full bridge 3K is like, yeah, truth. and here's the thing: if your voltage drops below, if your voltage ever drops below like 12.5, you need more batteries and you need more alternator. Period. If your headlights dim when the bass hits, you absolutely need a lot more batteries and alternator. If you're not seeing either one of those things happen, then you're fine. But you're also not getting as much power out of your system as you think you are. You've just got a well-designed system that doesn't need a lot of power to be perceived as pretty loud. Power doesn't come from anything. Oh, yeah, that's true. So, yeah, if you're going to buy, and that's true, he said just kidding, but it's 100% true. If you're going to, if you're wanting to get a whole big system, the way to do it is to go to any of them, pretty much all of them, Big Jeff, Sky High, GP, whoever you want to go to. They have financing options. One of them, some of them have same as cash for a certain amount of time. So I forget the one that I used to use. I used one when I was driving a truck. I used it all the time. Bought my tires and everything else with it. The point is, it's just the same. It's a way to check out and get. Well, I got a list up here. Maybe they're in one of these is in here. No, they're not. Let me go back to that V2 site and see if it's listed there. Not on the V2 site. Anyway, A lot of them have a same as cash policy. So whenever you finance the thing through this Akima, that's who I used, Akima. You set it up, you get it financed, they pay your bill and everything. Then you call up Akima and you say, I want to reset my payments to where I can pay the whole thing off in 90 days. Um, and then they'll set up your automatic payments to come out of your check, however often you have set, and to have it all paid off within 3 months. If you do that, you don't pay anything over the price of the purchase. There's no interest rate at all, zero. Um, and that is how you utilize that. But you have to do it that way. If you do it that way and you pay it and you make sure you pay it all off in 90 days, then you pay no interest rates. If you continue to pay it over the whole full length of the loan, you're going to be paying like twice as much for finance charges, total double in the price. But pay it off within 90 days, you can get that interest-free money, man, same as cash. And I've done it over and over and over again. This isn't me talking out of my ass. This is me telling you what I've done many times. This is the standard procedure. I've never paid it out full. I always paid it off within 90 days, every time. Born Joker says using the right amount of box for the speakers makes a huge difference. Yes. Box is a huge, huge, huge part of the bass. Speaker placement, if you have the option. If you have the option. A lot of times you're working with, in a vehicle, you're working with whatever they give you unless you do some custom stuff, which is also a thing. Born Joker says, perfect example of manufacturers and the symbols almost everything in the United States. Yeah. Costco buying a new 75-inch TV. Oh, that's where you are. Got the goats and everything. Yeah. Tell Mama I said hi. Yeah, he's going to hang it on the bedroom ceiling. I wish the chains hang from there. Trinity M series. Yeah, the H is what I had my eyes on. I know, big boy panties. Yeah. Yes, sir. But they are nice. They're pricey. Joker, I did the same with my deck tuning. Yep. Had the Mazda MX-6 GT Turbo, 16 PSI chip in it. Sounds fun. I got to test drive a Toyota Celica GTR. It's me and my friend. So there's a little story to this, and I think you guys will get a kick out of it. The thing that just came out. This is one of the earlier vehicles with a really modern version of variable valve timing. Car was a 6-speed. So I'm in my Chevy truck. I hadn't very long ago purchased a brand new. This is in 2001, I think. And I had just, it was in 2001. 2001. I had just purchased a brand spanking new, the only brand new car I ever bought. Chevy S10 extended cab. And me and my buddy were just out riding around, and we ran across this Toyota dealership, and I was like, oh, let's check out these cars, because we're car people, right? Well, we saw the GTR. Actually, we saw the GT first. And then I said, oh, look at this one. And it was like GTR. I forget what it was. Oh my God. So we're looking at it, and the salesman's out there, and he figures, we got money. So he's like all up in our business and shit. And he's like, yeah, we're checking this out. We're taking for a test drive. He's like, sure. So he gave us the keys, and he left and went back toward the building. So we got in the car and took off. We didn't know he was going inside to get a license plate and then come back and ride with us. We didn't, honest to God, we did not realize that he was doing that. So we took off in this car. And we took it around town. And there's this in Conway, Arkansas. There's this one little road, a little, they call it a 2 lane, but it's really not so much of a 2 lane, but it goes out to a cemetery. And it's about a half a mile long, maybe 3/4 of a mile long. And the very beginning of it's kind of bumpy, but then it flattens out real good. And a lot of guys go out there and drag race. So we went out there and we hit that. I come around the corner on that and I started grabbing gears. And my partner over here in the passenger seat, he's like me. He's a bit of a psychopath. So normally going fast doesn't really bother him. I say that because when I glanced at his face, it was white as a ghost. We were doing about 110, and I was still in fourth gear. And he looked like he was about ready to melt and just sort of run out the window. He was plastered. He was freaking the hell out. That car was amazing. I really, really wanted that car. I thought that one freaked me out, dude. It was fast as shit. A really, really quick car and a blast to drive. We took it back to the lot and got it pulled up in the lot, and there was like 10 people out there. I'm like, what? You know, and the dudes are like, what'd you think? And they're all like, and I'm like, why is everybody in this business standing in the parking lot by my truck? That's when we found out about that. We didn't buy the car, no, but we took it on one hell of a test drive, and I'll never forget it, and I'll never regret it. That was a great day, man. Oh my God, that car was quick, son. And it shifted. It hit. So guys, it hit the sweet spots, right? It shifted really smooth, slap, pam, pam, pam. And it handled tight like it was literally bolted to the road. And at the same damn time, it had a good ride to it. It was comfortable. It checked every box. And I was just, I was really impressed with that car. I wished I could have bought that thing. I would have loved it. But yeah, good times. The Mazda MX. You got me talking about cars, man. I've drove some really exotic shit in my life. I've gotten to drive a Lamborghini Countach. I don't recommend that for anybody. That's like getting inside of a torture chamber. That thing's hideous, man. It looks good. It looks really good. But it sucks to be inside of. You don't want nothing to do with that thing. That's one of them vehicles you park in the yard and then just look at it every once in a while. You don't want to drive that damn thing anywhere. I have an '06 Tahoe that has a Pioneer double din with a 13 band EQ, 2-volt pre-outs. Would I get more pre-out voltage if I hooked up a Clarion? You need a line driver or just get a DSP, man. That's the best way to solve that. It's just get a DSP, get the little B2 DSP, and that'll solve that problem plus a bunch more. So that's my suggestion. Because your DSP is going to take you up to 4 volts, and then you'll have plenty of power for whatever you're wanting to do. Plus, it gives you like all the controls. It's going to solve a whole bunch of problems, and for like $100, man. Go over to Big Jeff Audio and look up the B2 DSP. Pick a silver one or the black one. Use discount code CAE. You'll get a little discount on it, and get that in. Install that, and it's going to solve so many problems. Born Joker. I've always loved sound systems before I had a car. Yes. I had some decent Pioneer speakers in my bedroom. Yes. When I got my first car, I didn't have any money, so of course I used those in the car. Yes. 100%, my friend. Everybody here has done it. We've all done it. All of us have done it. You know, it's you think the thing that you did was weird. Trust me, that was a right to manhood in the car audio world. We've all done that, and it works pretty good as long as you're not trying to get a ton of bass out of it. But you will get some decent sound. I'll tell you what does sound pretty good if you're on a oh my god budget. Getting an old home theater subwoofer from like Goodwill. You know, you can find that shit on the Goodwill shelf. Getting one of them computer speaker subwoofers or one of them home theater subwoofers, put it in there, put it on like 100 watts. You know, on some little crappy 4-channel, 1 channel of it or something. You'd be amazed how much bass you get out of that. And it sounds good. It's a really, really, really inexpensive solution for bass. And I've done it. I've been there. I have been in that oh shit department. I didn't know anything about ohms at the time, but yeah, it don't matter. As long as the amp don't turn off, dome load's fine. That's how that worked, man. If the amp says, okay, I can do that, then it's good to go, man. The outboard EQ is outdated piece now. Yep, it is. Yeah, 2 volt is pretty low. You're going to probably pick up quite a bit of noise. I've actually got a line driver up there in my closet. I forget who makes it, but it's got like a 9 volt output. It raises the voltage, and that works fine. But you can pick up that DSP for $110. It's going to do that plus a whole lot more. It's hard to recommend, you know, a BB gun whenever you can get a 22 for the same price. You know what I'm saying? Efficiency is king, W says. For me, sounding good is first priority. Yeah, and I agree with you. I have different things going on in my world, but guys, believe me, I am an SQ guy. I really am. What I do is demo crazy, windy, low stuff, really loud, but I enjoy that for a different reason. When I'm listening to music, it needs to sound amazing. When I'm demoing, it's got to sound good, but it means to float hair, blow people around, and be stupid loud. It's a whole different experience. It's like driving a car versus riding on a roller coaster. 2 different things. And I like them both for different reasons. Let's see here. I have my 212s and my game room and got crazy SPL. I got a 15 over here that I use for my bass right now. And that amplifier you're looking at back over my shoulder, that shit's all hooked up, guys. That's what runs my my audio in this room is all running off of that. I'm getting my mids and highs off the Slapz. My subwoofer's getting powered off the Hyanka, and it's all running through that B2 audio DSP. And my computer, which I'm on right now, runs through the B2 audio DSP. And that's where I get all my sound. Comes through all that stuff. That's what's powering my computer sound system, which is what I watch. Everything on, edit video, everything that I do runs through that sound system. Let's see here. So yeah, efficiency. I'll get down through here and see what else we got. About 2 small space crossfire. Yep. Oh man, Joe Berserker. I wonder if Chrysler ever realized they named the car after the worst fuel injection system ever made. I don't know. You lost me on that one. I'm trying to think about it. Crossfire, maybe? I'm just guessing. I can't. You lost me. I ain't up to speed on that one. I had a 19 Sorry, Stu. The Crossfire is the only thing I can think of. I'm not even sure if that's right or not, but um, Hostile Harris said, I still like that name. I had an 88 single cab Silverado with 412s in it. Yeah, that would be one of them where you're eating the steering wheel all the time, going down the road like this. Yeah, that'd be a rough one. I've seen them though. Um, I was involved in that shit to an extreme. I didn't have any pickup trucks real growing up. Back when the single cab was, that's what everybody had. Short bed single cab. If you didn't have that, you weren't cool. And I was driving a 20-foot long Ford LTDs and Thunderbirds and shit. Uh, Punch 150 and a couple Aerotech arms. Burned up a Punch 150 on my Cutlass back in the day. Ran 16 gauge power and ground wire. Yeah, that's not a good sign. It's a bad sign, Private. Terrible. It's called paying for experience. And we had to earn those stripes, baby. You had to pay for them. One way or the other, you got to pay for that. Pay for it in blood. A Born Jerker said a lot of times I'd buy 4 channels so that I could use for my lights, for my highs when I upgraded. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. The thing about sound treatment is you're only as good as your weakest link. Yep. It's true as well. It's just tricky to sell. I mean, you can always do the demo thing where you go clink, 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 bang, 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 that's kind of obvious, but it's tricky to get that across to people. I just find it difficult. And most of the time, the sad thing is that vast majority of the time, it isn't installed correctly at all. So people are paying for a lot of stuff that it's not helping at all. It's going to help some, even if it's installed badly. But Stu said there's a lot of things that fall under the sound treatment category. Exactly, Stu. Stu knows exactly what I'm talking about when I make that statement. Pioneer, yeah. It's Pioneer SQ quality. SQ quality. It's SQ stands for sound quality. So, is Pioneer sound quality? That's a name brand, bro. That's not a component. The first thing is just take away the name brand on literally everything that you see. And now look at all the other stuff that's on there. And that's the stuff that's important. So if you're talking about a head unit, Pioneer head units usually are pretty good and they will get the job done. That doesn't mean that they're any better than most of the other head units. I say find one that you like the look of and how the menu functions, where the buttons are and how it feels to you and what the stuff that it does. Find that has all those features. And don't worry about what name brand it is. In fact, some of the best head units out there on the market right now, in my opinion, are made by Bose. No shit. Bose, same damn company, or not Bose, but Boss. Excuse me. I'm talking bad about both of them. Boss, the ones that make the cheap little amps and all that crap, the one everybody hates on, they make wicked good head units. And they got some of the best deals on head units out there for your money and what you get. They're on point. Look at them. Check them out. I got a buddy that sells a shit ton of them. He never has returns. He never has to do warranties on them. They're solid. When it comes to amps, it's all over the place, man. And Pioneer really doesn't make any good amplifiers anymore. They're pretty much out of that game. They're just about not a company, in my opinion, anymore. They're barely even a company. But yeah, Warren Joker said I used to use tennis balls. Yeah, there you go. Stu squaring you away. Yeah, they're not what they used to be. And yeah, Like I said, not a bad head unit. That's about the only thing I would push from them is a head unit. They do make amplifiers. You know, of all those brands like Pioneer and Kenwood and well, Alpine, all them, Kenwood actually makes a amplifier that's I believe it's a 2 ohm amplifier, and I want to say it was like 1,000 watts at 2 ohms or something like that. It's actually a really good amplifier. Um, I'm not sure about those measurements, but I'm pretty sure it was a 2 ohm minimum rating. It's a really good amplifier, but they're like I said, you can't go by brand names. You have to look at the equipment, pick the things that are doing the job. You know, turn all the boxes on the count on the shelves around where you read the back and you shop that way. That's the way you have to learn to shop because there's no name brand that can put you 100% in the right place. You just can't do it that way anymore. And I agree with you on that, Cornet. Kenwood, Exelon line, and JVC. I like the menu. I like the way the software is on those radios. They're reliable and they sound good, and the software is great. But if you want something big and crazy, those Boss radios, check into that shit. Check into that. They're quality, man, and you can do some really cool shit with them. Stu's Custom Shop. Been doing very well with JVC car player. Yep. Honestly, Kenwood JVC is kind of covering most of the market, and Sony is kind of coming in there and covering a little chunk of it when it comes to head units. But Boss is really incredible. Stu's Custom Shop. Everyone seems to love the time alignment. Yep, exactly. I like the software. Like I said, the software is what makes those radios cool. I like the fact that you can change the background. You can make it whatever background you want. Like you can upload a picture to it and make your background the same. That kind of stuff. They have a lot of neat features in those radios. What do y'all consider a good SQ sub? Looking to replace your Kicker Comp R? Oh, shit, I could recommend the Kicker Comp R, but honestly, it's going to be what kind of situation you're in. You know, it's not quite as simple as that. A good efficient subwoofer that's very lightweight. Um, I find that one that has a fairly high FS tends to be a lighter weight cone, and putting that in a sealed enclosure would give you a very smooth, responsive subwoofer for a purely SQ subwoofer. But it depends on everything, like how much airspace you have, how big is your baffle area, what are you free air, sealed, ported, what are you doing? There's so many different things there, and just throwing a name out there is not going to be really doing that justice. You would need to know a lot more information about what you're doing in the build than just the fact that you want an SQ sub. So somebody will answer that question, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be the answer you're looking for. All right. So just letting you know, the answer to this question is not that obvious. Honestly, that Kicker Comp R is a little bit less on the SQ side than I recommend, but you know, it is what it is. Whatever sounds good. I remember doing 110 with my Beamer. Felt like I was doing 60. Yeah, that's how that was, dude. That thing was just cooking. That car was fast. So there's a few left. Kicker files good. Alpine off the top of my head. Alpine doesn't quite know who they are, not quite who they used to be. Truth. Try a Comp Q. That's a good choice as well. Yeah. That would probably solve it, but you still need to know all the other information that I was trying to get from him. I think the issue is that they still There used to be a lot of the JL before Garmin bought them. Gotten pretty stale over the day. They haven't. They're not changing with the market, man. They went to this retail. So like the big sub part in car audio just kind of died way down for a long time. And these were the companies, Kicker, JL, Alpine, Pioneer, Kenwood. These all were the companies, MTX and all them. They were all the companies that were supporting that. And as the interest dropped, they dropped and they changed. They morphed into something that was more economically making them money when the interest in the big systems waned down to a small stir. They dropped down to support that market that was reduced. Well, as that interest has came back, as the big subwoofer and big build interest has came back, they're not coming back. They're staying at that weird iPhone, Android tablet kind of market where they're not doing the big new thing. They're staying with this old stale thing. And the problem is it's going to kill them. It's killing them. A lot of these companies trying to sell equipment, the fact that they didn't go to an online presence immediately, and that they're not following the market as it shifts, they're stuck in their stale ways. Those two things are just killing these companies. They were great companies at once. Now they're just shells of their former selves. The only one out there that's really on the pulse of the car audio community is Kicker. That's it. Of all those old brands, the only one that's still trying to stay relevant and putting the effort into staying relevant and being a leader, or at least keeping up with the community as it's changing, is Kicker. That's it. There's nobody else in their bracket. They don't have any competitors. Plain and simple. I think the issue is they still used to be a lot like, I got 2.8, 2 in, 8 out, like 10 companies make them. PRV, yeah, okay. DSP, definitely one of my options. CompQ, yep, okay. Skip on down here. Born Joker, I've been learning a bit about really high-end audio. One of the best amps in the world is only 150 watts. Sure, doable, stable up to 33 ohms. 0 ohms, man. CompQ plays deep and clean in the right box. I've had CompQs. I had 2 of the, I think they were the CompQs. They were the square ones, though. And they were in a Kicker box. Kicker's one of their custom boxes, one of their design boxes for that sub. Sounded good. I ran them for about 6 months or so. Yeah, it's definitely one of my options. My brother bought 2 Depons 4512s with Subwoofer Box I recommend for them. Kings of Bass. The 4512s. I recommend that you go over to GP Car Audio, go to the True Spec boxes, and find one in there for the 4512 that probably already have that design there. If they do not, there's a thing you can fill out there, a little form, and they can build one for you. The True Spec boxes come pre-assembled, shipped, completely put together, but they're not. You can get them customized, but they're going to come pretty basic, but really perfectly built to the subwoofer specs. That's where you're going to find the best, and they're not going to be crazy expensive. They're actually pretty inexpensive. So go to GP Car Audio, True Spec boxes, look for that sub in there. And you should be able to find one, because they do handle Depons, a lot of Depons, and a lot of Sundown they've got on the website. Crossfire fuel injection. I was right. I was right. It was a Crossfire. I got. How did I even get that, dude? I can't believe I got that right. I was sitting there thinking, what car had a name that was purely by luck, dude? That was 100% by luck. Oh man. Yeah, the early '80s Corvettes were really sad. My favorite Corvette though was the year right before they started going downhill like that. Well, they were actually not that good. They didn't run that good. The late '70s Corvettes, they had weak motors in them, but I loved the way that body style looked. It was my favorite body style of all of them. Anyway, only Chrysler sports car with a Chrysler badge. Everything else was Benz. Let's see, stuffed 3 MTX 10s and the back of a single cab 2000 S10. I had two JL 15W3s and a sealed box in the back of my S10. That was an extended cab, of course, because of course I did. Now it's pretty much the only thing you could buy is extended cab. But I had two JL W315s on a Memphis 1000D, one of the chrome Memphis amps. Yeah, and it slammed, and that was a completely stock stereo, stock speakers everywhere in there. It was all this factory shit. I just added the subs and the amp. And it hit hard. I was listening to Eminem a lot, man. Remember that? Working as a manager, I was slamming Eminem. I cranked that shit full tilt, man, when I left the store at night. I needed my brains right. Pioneer that ever impressed me. Joe, looking through all your stuff, what do you think about the Memphis Mojo? Not impressed. The Mojo, well, actually, the 15s, they're good subs. Just don't screw with the Memphis amps, especially their top of the line, like the Memphis Bell. That's a piece of shit. It's a complete piece of shit. The PRS, I think it is, line with the little green light up line on them. Those are good amps. Those are solid amps. Their top of the line amps, I don't think they're good at all. And you don't want to mess with their amp with the DSP in it. You don't want to mess with the Memphis Bell. Stay away from their top of the line shit. It's all crap. But the subs are not bad. The Mojo subs, especially, and I was really impressed with the small ones, like the 6.5s and 8s, the 8-inch Mojos. Really potent little subwoofers. I just don't care for most of their amp line, except for the ones with the green stripe on them. I think it's PRS, if I remember correctly. Those are good. It contains counts reputation and preference. Yeah. Best Buy has deals on Pioneer amps. Yeah, I don't. No, I'll pass. So George Salas, what's up, man? One question: what kind of Slapz audio amplifier should I put to power my Q class L7 15-inch D2? L7. What's that, like a 1500 watt RMS? I don't know what the RMS is on that. That's, let's see here. Somebody will probably give you an answer before I will. But I'm trying to answer this question. So the Q class, I don't remember what the Q class 15s are rated at. They're probably at 1,000 watts, maybe like 750 or 1,000 or something like that. So you don't need a ton of power. If I was going to recommend something for that power output, especially if you're running cues. Means you're probably a sound quality person. Yeah, I think if yeah, I don't know if I'd go that route. I'm pondering the meaning of life over here. I would probably go with a little more power than you need and then dial it back. Um, so I'd probably recommend the Slapz 5K, Shock 5K. Um, and then, depending on what ohm load you're running, uh, because that gives you the power to run. I don't know what your ohm load is, how you're wired, but you could run that at 4 ohms or 2 ohms, and you're still going to get tons of power out of it. And you could dial it back, and having it working in that range is going to make it very efficient. And you're not going to have to crank the gain out to peg it out. You're going to be able to dial it way in. You're going to get an overall cleaner experience. So that's what I would go with, like the Shock 5K, and then turn it down or run it at a higher ohm load, depending on what you're actually doing right now. That'd be a good call. I know it makes a lot of power, even when it's up around 4 ohms. It's still going to make, even at 4 ohms, it's still going to make close to half its power. So you're still going to be putting out 2,500 watts at 4 ohms. So you're going to have way more power than you need, and you can turn that sucker down and get good, clean stuff going on. Joe Berserker, let's see here, how much more power? George said, okay, we're on the same question. How much more power than 1,200 watt RMS? Got you. Yeah, I wouldn't want to put much more than that, but like I said, you can run a much bigger amplifier. You just have to turn the power down. And I wouldn't run any more power than what their RMS rating is. I wouldn't probably even run at their RMS rating. I'd be like looking at around 1,000 watts per. But you don't want to run a 2,000 watt amplifier, because then you're putting it to the very limit. Running something like a 3 or 4 or 5,000 watt amplifier, you can turn them gains down and give them just a little power, and they're going to be very efficient. You're going to have a ton of headroom. It's going to work better. It's going to run cooler and more efficiently, and the amplifier will never have to work hard to do the job. It's just the best way to go. Overpower and then turn it down. You know what I'm saying? Off topic. Shit, what topic? Joe said, yeah, I said off topic, but where to get those glasses from? You have to go to the your glasses place and look in the sunglasses area. Find a set of Ray-Bans, aviators, and buy those. And then you hand them the glasses and say, put my lenses in these. That's how that works. So you order a pair of Ray-Ban aviators. These are not the aviators. I had the last pair I was, but that's essentially where you're going to find them at. Then have them put you some tin in there. And you're good to go, man. Yeah, you're going to be like, damn, I got to pay like $200 and something for a pair of sunglasses. Then they're going to take the sunglasses out and keep the frame. And so it's like, what the hell is happening? Yeah, that's what's happening. That's how you do it. Born Joker, you're probably better off having an amplifier that's rated about 30%. That's what I just said. Absolutely. Yep. Literally just said, see, you guys are on my side. I love it. My people will answer your questions so good. They're all very, very smart. Do I like Memphis? Some. Like I said, I like the company. I used to like the company. The company's just doing some weird shit right now. I've owned a lot of Memphis in my life, though. So, yes. But there's some bad seeds out there you want to avoid. Like I said, don't get that Memphis Bell. Don't get that new, the most expensive stuff they make. Just stay away from that. Go down to their middle line. The middle line is still solid. They ain't messed with it much since the last, iteration of the company. But that upper line, they did weird stuff with that, and that's just not good. Uh, I got a friend that's in car audio. He was running Memphis as one of his brands. Uh, he had bought a shipment in of 12 Memphis bells, and he ended up having to do a warranty on every single one of them. And getting warranty work through Memphis is like putting socks on a rooster. You do not want to enter that competition. You won't like it. Which is why he dropped that brand, because warranty was horrible. The company's in a bad place right now. I hope they change. Sorry. I just know too much about the industry, guys. I'm sorry. All the magic is gone from them. You know what I'm saying? I know all the stuff going on behind the scenes, and it's not all good. Kenwood DMX 1057, bunch of letters. Great head unit. Awesome. Oh, that's expensive. That's unfortunate. We'll pass on that one. Actually, it's not terrible, man. You know, I paid that much for a head unit. In fact, it was a Kenwood Exelon. I think that I played. It was the top of the line. I still got that damn head unit somewhere in here. It was like $1,200 or $1,300. I've wired system to 2 ohms because that was the lowest I could get it. Sure. That's where I'm at right now on my subs and my Tahoe, just because when I set it all up, it was set up for one thing and then I changed it. So that's how that goes. But that's about to change. That's about to change, baby. It's about to change. Joe Berserker, kicker, always is a standard. Now, kicker wasn't the big boy. Back in the 90s, they were a strong competitor, yes. But they weren't the big boy. They were, Rockford Fosgate was the big boy in loud stuff, and JL was the big boy in sound quality stuff. And then Pioneer and Kenwood they paid second fiddle in the subwoofer amplifier market to all these other guys. Kicker was kind of alongside them. So it was mainly Kicker and Rockford that were kind of competing against each other in the SPL-ish area. The other guys were in different kind of little corners. And Alpine was sort of in the middle of all that, not really leaning one direction or the other. Man, they've went through so many changes. All these companies have gone through just these different avenues and paths because of the way the world changes and stuff. But Kicker's actually trying to maintain. They're doing a real good job. Their presence is outstanding. That company is really, really outstanding. Right now, they're the only real surviving brand from that era that still commands a huge chunk of the market. So my hat's off to them. 100%. The internet says, Stu said, I think the internet's really screwed up a lot of the big companies. Oh, yeah. Yep. Absolutely, man. It is just, dude, it's just change. You know, you could say that. You could say that about so many different eras in our time. You know, what about when the Sears and Roebuck catalog came out? You know, before that happened, if you wanted to buy stuff, you had to go to the dollar store. You had to go to the local person around your little town. You couldn't order something from somewhere else. It didn't exist. Nothing existed outside of your town. And the Sears and Roebuck catalog started coming out. Well, hell, now you had the ability to order anything from anywhere in the world, right? That was the beginning of that. It just kept going. And then, you know, some people saw that train and jumped on. Other people said, nah, don't need to worry about that, and just kept doing the thing the way they were doing it. And that, you know, cause and effect. You know, you make decisions and you freaking reap what you sow, you know. And every company had to play that game and had to decide whether they were going to make that change. And the internet's just the most recent variant of that. Um, Everyone will, you can blame it, but it's just change. Change happens, man. And what we see is change happens in the middle of our life. Like what you experience in the first 20 years of your life, that's the real world. And no matter how you are, whatever happened in the first 20 years of your life, that's how it should stay, right? And so for us, anything that happened, I was born in 1970. Anything that happened after 1990 is stupid, because I'm everything that I'm used to, what I was born into, is stopped at like 1990. Everything else is stupid. It's all wrong. It's broken. It shouldn't. But then the people that are born right now will see it a different way, and that's just how it's been over and over again. It's like stairs, man. Generations. Change happens. Steve Irby, damn right. Joe said only year they didn't have a vet. Yeah, Steve Joe's still talking about the Corvette. I always wanted a Corvette when I was a kid. My dad actually told me if I graduated, he'd buy me a Corvette. No shit. I did not graduate. But I later got his GED, but apparently that didn't count. But that was what I always wanted, was a Corvette, Stingray. Yeah. One of my favorite movies as a kid was Corvette Summer. If you haven't seen that shit, look it up. I wouldn't want one today, though. Nope. I wouldn't want nothing to do with a Corvette. I'd park it and I'd look at it. I'd drool on it, slobber on it, and smile at it and pet it. But I don't want to drive it. And if you're ever sitting in an old vet, just go out in the yard in the driveway and sit down on the concrete. That's what it feels like when you get in that thing. It's like you're sitting down on the ground, and it's atrocious. Trying to get in and out of one of those is like I don't even know, dude. It's just wrong. Same way with the Lamborghini. Let's see here. I'm not upset that you said you said I got it because I'm a huge Memphis Audio fan, though. Oh, man, sorry. Hate to hear that, brother. Yeah, like I said, the subs are good. I just don't like the way they went with the bell line and all that. The newest high level stuff. It's troubling, man. I guys, I'm speaking from experience. All right, I've been in the shop helping to diagnose the problems over and over and over again. I've seen and been around the room while the fights were happening with Memphis, trying to get stuff RMA'd and warranted. It's bad. The last change of the guard that happened a few years ago was bad. Now, the equipment that they had before then that hasn't changed, that shit's all good. They did some funky stuff, though. Just keeping your head up, man. I liked Memphis up until a few years ago, and now it's a mixed bag. I caught that 1200 watts RMS, man, after I stroke. But yeah, a 5K or even a 3K, but a 3K or a 5K would be fine because you're going to turn it down anyway. Just overpower them and don't actually overpower them. Get a bigger amp than what you need, and then back that gain down. Just crack it a little bit till you get the music you're looking for, and stop. And you'll be very happy with that. You'll have lots of dynamic headroom, which is good. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. You're welcome, sir. Also, would you like to ask about down Uncle B? Let me see if I can understand this. Also, would you like to ask about downforce sound, scar, and sundown? Also, would like to ask about down for sounds, mixed bag. Not bad. I don't. I don't have a special place in my heart for the owner of the company. Used to, kind of lost that. Some sketch going on there, but as a company, it's not a bad company. Um, as far as down for sound goes, Scar uh, Sundown is spectacular, but you're going to pay a lot for the stuff. It's a different bracket of equipment, and it's mostly geared toward SPLs. If that's what you're into, and you have the budget to afford it, step up and fork over and get that big boy stuff. Absolutely. Because Jacob Fuller, I talked to him a couple days ago. Um, we actually sit and had a long conversation about a new subwoofer he's designing, which of course I have NDA on, so I can't talk about it. But he's a freaking genius when it comes to designing subwoofers. The man is absolutely a genius. So the stuff he builds is spectacular, but it's also expensive. If you can afford it, jump in it. As far as Scar goes, Scar's kind of a meh. I think I'll pass on most of the Scar stuff. A few bits and pieces here and there. It's not bad, but I can get better from Slapz for less. Much better from Slapz for less. So there you go. Stu headroom, yeah, exactly. It's a daily driver right there. Hell yeah, dude. Um, Stu said avoid the Memphis subwoofers with the LEDs in them. Yeah, I appreciate your input. No problem, my friend. You asked for it. I'm always honest. Um, Joe said Rockford Fosgate. I got the Series 1 before the Punch came out. It's like 13 or 14. I don't remember much about them. I couldn't afford that shit, man. I was dragging I was picking up whatever. Rockford was the king, man. They were the king. I think that for a pretty good while, Rockford was the number one in the SPL world. It was, because they was covering everything, and they still make a great product, but it's just not. It's in a weird place. It isn't really SPL anymore, not on the level that we're on, and it's not really SQ either. It's in a weird spot where it doesn't really have a home. Um, they don't know what they're doing anymore. I remember when it took 6 to 8 weeks for things to get there and arrive. Oh, sure, sure. We've gotten really good at moving products around. You can order something today from China and you might get it in 3 days. You might get it in 2 days. It's freaking bonkers how fast shit can move across the country now or across the world. Let's see, some of the Infinity stuff. Some of the Infinity stuff has plastic baskets now. The basket warps, yeah. Well, and I agree with you, Cornut. I really do. I've seen plastic baskets on different things. If you got a perfect mounting solution and everything's nice and flat and you can keep it straight, it can work. But I mean, like you said, it can work too. If you got anything just the tiniest bit off and it gets a little twist in it, it's going to misalign your coil and you're going to be slapping coil and all that shit. And that's never good. So, I mean, I get it 100%. Yeah, it is what it is, bro. This is the world we live in. There are some better plastics though that will act more like a metal, like that the fiber reinforced poly vinyl. Fiber reinforced polyvinyl ethylene is incredibly rigid. Like, it's really tough, but I guarantee you they're not making speaker frames out of it. If you guys can remember back when you were real little, they had these big old plastic dump trucks that were like yellow and orange, and you could get on top of this thing and ride on it. It was a just absolutely indestructible dump truck. That was that material. Um, that was that material. That was the earliest time I remember ever seeing it. But it's real rough. A lot of certain tools will use it for certain parts of the tool, where you would normally have metal. They use that fiber reinforced plastic. Um, I know a little bit about plastic from working at 2 different factories where we made plastic parts and plastic stuff. You know, I learned and I absorb. You put me in an environment where there's shit to learn, and it doesn't matter. I'm just going to absorb stuff, and I don't forget it. And I learned a lot about different plastics out there, and I was fascinated by it, molds and machines and all that. So yeah, accurate plastics and diversified plastics. And here in Missouri, I worked at both of those 2 places. Yeah, entry-level Infinities. Yep, I agree. My first 12 was in Memphis. I pushed it further than it was rated. Never quit on me. Yep. Let's see here. Something is up with Harmon. Corey, my buddy, who owns the shop, just picked up a JBL. He's not loving it so far. I have to look into that. Harmon or Harmony? No, it's supposed to be Harmon. Back in the old school, back here, putting up old school mothballs in the gas tank. Don't tell Mom. It'll last longer if you listen to them. Yep. Yeah, I think the JBL GTO might have a plastic basket too. When it comes to the door speakers, it's not as big of a deal, but it's still a deal. And there's scenarios where metal baskets just ain't no good, and the marine being one of them. A door kind of is a marine environment, but I don't think it's as big of an issue with metal frames and a door, because they've been using them for years, and it's you don't typically have them like rusting out or corroding like up in the gap or anything. So yeah, it's probably less expensive, and it's lighter, and weight is a big deal on a car. So when factories do it, they do it that way for that reason. I don't know, man. There's always reasons. Car Audio Obsessed. Memphis separated from their parent company about 6 months ago. That may be the point. Yeah, that's the point when things went down. I will give Sundown a chance on my next build. Yeah, sure. Like I said, if you got the, absolutely. Still, domes tend to be more forgiving than when it breaks up. But if the dome turned right, silk is better. Okay, so yeah, I'll play into that a little bit. We're talking about tweeters here, and metal, aluminum, beryllium, titanium, all of the all of the metals are. Here's the advantage of a metal dome or a metal tweeter. They're more accurate, up to 20,000 hertz, really. They handle power very, very well because the dome itself of the cone, the moving part, is connected to the coil. It's actually metal, and so it transfers heat. It acts like a heat sink and helps to get rid of heat, and it's significant how well it does that. So a metal tweeter is going to be more accurate, I would say, up until like 18,000 hertz. it's going to handle power better. When it does break up, though, when it loses it, like a tin can. So if this is your metal speaker, okay, whenever it gets misshapen, it makes that pop. You hear that? That is what the tweeter does. All right. A tweeter that's made out of a softer material won't reproduce as well because it's soft, but when it does break up, it doesn't make any noise. This is why people tend to like silk tweeters better, because even though they're not as accurate, when they do break up and distort, you don't hear it. With a metal tweeter, you do. So while they work great until that point, when they fail, they sound like hot shit. This is also a problem with aluminum woofer baskets and stuff too, or cones. Same concept. CT sounds or incriminator? Incriminator. Both of them rank about the same level in my book. But I know Steve Meade prefers incriminator, and I trust his opinion. So if I had to pick one, I'd pick incriminator. That's the only reason. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I figured out y'all were talking about tweeters there, and I had to jump in there. I did a lot of studying up on tweeters. I'm a big fan of any tweeter that doesn't sound like power acoustic. The trick is to stay away from polymer. Stay away from plastic tweeters. So pretty much all your cheap tweeters are polymer tweeters. And if you're not really good at tuning and getting everything right, if you're a half-ass tuner, silk is going to be your friend, because it can help. Whenever you do it wrong, silk is going to hide it better. If you're really good at tuning and you are really meticulous and you have a really picky ear, you're going to like the way a metal tweeter sounds better if you dial it in. It's going to be more accurate. The silk tweeter is just easier. Most people run silk because of that reason. If you like power and you like loud and you can tune, you can get more out of a metal tweeter. And it won't blow as easy. But I will say this. We were doing a thing, Audio Dynamic had a set, the 2000 series. They had the 1000s and the 2000s and their mids and highs. And they had a silk tweeter in the first set, the 2000s. And then they changed it to a metal tweeter. I hated the change. I hated it. Whenever we had them on the board, I absolutely loved, I still do, the way the Audio Dynamics 1000 and 2000 series mids and highs, phenomenal. I mean, just really good sounding components. And they were not expensive. And for some reason, the version 2, they used a metal dome tweeter. That tweeter sucked. I heard it immediately. I didn't even know they changed it. My buddy had put a new set in the board, and I heard them, and I'm like, what the hell is that? That's the new AD mids and highs. I'm like, what did they do? He's laughing. He's like, you hear it too, don't you? And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And they changed the tweeters. They put a metal tweeter in there, and it wasn't a good metal tweeter. I don't know what they've done here recently, though. That didn't stick around. They changed some things up right after that. Yeah, it was bad. I heard it walking through the building coming in. I was like, oh my God, they were horrible. They sounded like shit. I really like Audio Dynamics' gear. They have really good gear, but they are really expensive. Cornut, was some Series 115s. Yeah, Rockford Fosgate. Kids' toys. Used to build. Yeah, but you know that truck I was talking about, right? That it was like a Tonka truck, but it wasn't a Tonka truck. It was made by somebody else. It was plastic, but it was freaking tough, man. We get on those things and ride them around. You could kill somebody with one of those things. It wasn't the Tonka. The Tonka trucks were metal. This was plastic, but it looked like that. It was made by like Erdl or some shit. I don't remember, but it was like yellow and orange, and it was made out of this real thick, heavy duty plastic. And like I said, it was a normal size, pretty good size toy truck, but it was so tough that you could jump up and down on it, and it did not care. It was just indestructible. I can't remember the name, but it wasn't the Tonka. The Tonkas were the metal ones. Remember the Tonka trucks? You crush one of them, you stand on that, and it's this thing wasn't like that. These things, you buy one of these things, and I guarantee you buy one for your kids, and then the grandkids, and then the great grandkids, and then the thing's going to be somewhere in the yard as a planter or something. It ain't never going to go away. It's just going to keep changing hands because they're indestructible. There's still some of them out there right now running around in a playground somewhere that's been there for 40 freaking years. Imagine what we could build if we all grouped together and built something. I bet we could blow the doors off of something. Well, hell yeah, man. I had several people that contributed to this build that's in my Tahoe right now. Cadillac Don, for one. You guys see him pop on. Car audio obsessed. Which do you prefer, silk or metal? I prefer silk because I'm stupid. But if I'm going to be rocking it hard, it depends on the speaker, man. Because they're not all created equal. If you had to give me a generic choice, I'd pick silk. But that doesn't always mean that there's not a metal out there that's as good as a silk or even better. But if you're giving me a generic choice, I would choose silk because it's more forgiving. And my brain is not good enough to tune to that level. My ears aren't good enough to hear that level anymore. And I like the way silk sounds whenever it's done badly. Just being straight up. And still, I think it's not just the vocals, but it's the nuances of the vocals. There's certain songs that if the system is not tuned right, the song will just sound so off to me, and it's I got a couple of tracks that I use to test my tunes because they're very unforgiving. And I have to look at my playlist to remember the name of this track. There's one, it's a 80s tune. There's a guy and a girl singing, and they both have a part in the early part of the song. And in the very beginning, it's easy, but then there's this one part where the guy's singing, and if you don't have the tune just right, it'll kind of does this weird thing with this voice, and it doesn't sound right. And if you get the tune exactly right, it'll sound perfect all the way through that part. But stuff like that, and there's certain times I'll hear cymbals, and the cymbals just sound like trash. I mean, just trash, and it just sounds like somebody's beating a garbage can lid. Things like that, and certain parts of a vocal, when a girl's hitting the highs and her voice starts doing this weird, funky kind of a distortion to the top, that's the stuff that bugs the crap out of me, and that's all tweeter action. That's all tweeter action. But yeah, I agree. And some people don't even notice it, but to me, it's like shining a red light in my eyes. I can't miss it. Appreciate it, man. about parallel to my thoughts and experiences. Thank you. Let's see here. Let's say you want your neighbors to hear maybe some metal tweeters. Like I said, metal dissipates heat better. If you like cranking your shit all the time, especially if you like listening to rock where you're really giving them a hard time, because tweeters catch hell with rock. Metal tweeters are probably your friend. I mean, honestly, as long as they're good quality ones and not some piece of crap ones, because there's a big difference in the two. They dissipate heat better and they handle that stuff more accurately. You're less likely to notice you'll get the bite without noticing the broken. It's complicated. But yeah, silk is still my favorite. little tight trucks, maybe. That may have been little tight. I honestly don't remember what the name of those things was. I just remember that the color they were and the fact that they would not die. We actively tried to kill those trucks. Did bad things to them. Caraudioenthusiasts, we can be friends now. Hell yeah, dude. But you can find metal tweeters that sound great. It's just not all of them. There's a bunch that are not going to sound good. I can't hear 16 kilohertz or higher. Yeah, I think last time I did my test, it was like 17 was the point to where mine fell off. But I can still hear a tweeter breaking up. I can hear a breaking tweeter, and my right ear especially is really sensitive to a tweeter that's misbehaving, and so I'm super picky about that. And yeah, I know I run horn tweeters in my Tahoe. Horn tweeters are not all bad though. In fact, a lot of SQ builds use horn tweeters because they're directional, and the more you scatter, so like a horn tweeter shoots straight at you, okay, and whereas an open tweeter fires in a spray pattern. Well, in certain situations, that spray pattern's better because it's kind of everywhere. No matter where you are, you kind of get that effect, right? But the problem with that is you're also picking up a whole lot of reflected tweeter. So as you're picking up the sound bouncing off this wall, bouncing off this wall, bouncing off this wall, and all that's getting mixed in, and it muddies the tweeter sound. It takes away the crispness of it. So whenever you can not bounce stuff off the walls, you can isolate to just reproducing what's coming out of the speaker, and you can get a lot more accuracy. This isn't always good or bad, and it depends on the car, where the tweeter's at, how you do everything, what you like, a whole lot of stuff. But it does make a difference. Regardless, it does make a difference. Having the tweeter that just fires mostly at the listening area, but not all the way around, is going to give you a different sound. And so you can do some amazing things with horn tweeters. Right now, all I'm doing with them is playing them loud enough to where you can hear it over the bass in my Tahoe, because that's what my Tahoe does. It does bass a whole lot. Let's see, Fisher Price. Okay, he's thinking on it now. Did it have a handle to dump the back? I don't think so. I don't remember. Though it might have, like on the top. It may have had a handle on the top of the bed, maybe. I don't think it had like a sticky out handle. But I don't know. Can't remember. Yes. A DSP is your friend. But you got to be good enough to DSP it. And that's where you're going to want to use an analyzer. That way you're not trying to use your ears to do it, because old man ears are not going to be very helpful up in that range. And besides that, you don't want to sit there and listen to something that's screaming, 8, 9, 10, 12K at you for any length of time. You want to analyze that shit and mix it down, because that's a pain nobody needs. I did the same job on F-14s, F4s. Those navigation electronics. I'm just slimming through here. I've also learned recently the fewer speakers, the cleaner the sound. Yep. Yes, sir. It 100% agree with you on that. Less is more when it comes to sound. Let's see here. For some reason, my right ear doesn't work as well between 1 and 3K when riding with my wife. You've got that W filter turned on, man. That's what it is. You know, if she punches you in the side of the head, it resets that, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. It automatically shuts that filter off. Little Tykes. He said Little Tykes. I'm gonna have to look it up later. The one I played with, they had handles for dumping in the front and the back. I can't remember, man. I just remember that tough ass damn truck. Had front wheels swiveled. I don't think so. And the one I'm thinking about didn't have front swiveling wheels. They were all rollers. It had two metal rods that ran. It had a metal rod for the front wheels and a metal rod for the back wheels. I tried to break it. I remember that. It didn't have the swivels. Just that. Well, you know what you're looking at may be new enough where they may have changed things up. So the toys do change. It may not even exist anymore as a new modern toy. Let's see here. W says, I'm planning to put a DSP in my build soon. I heard I'll get a better quality fire from Smart 3K. Yeah. Yes, sir. You will definitely have better ignition on your Smart 3K with a good DSP. You guys, as always, have been a blast. I love how our subject matter just goes all over the place. So much fun. I really enjoy hanging out with y'all. But we've been at this for over 3 hours. It's time for me to take a break. I got to watch some cat videos and shit. So you guys have an awesome night, man. Peace. Duck out of here. Don't forget to be nice to your neighbors. Show love to everyone. We need more love amongst our brothers and sisters.
Out here banging up and down the street, slamming it to the ground. Big subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Hours charging, amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust.
I love that bass line, guys.
Wires are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming. Gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating air. Sparks are flying, voice cords are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.
I'll figure it out and I'll have it for the Sunday show, guys.
Got it. Got it. Boom.
Hey, y'all know what? One more time before we leave. Discount code CAE. Get some, guys.